Chapter 1712. As soon as Chu Yang arrived at the law enforcement city, he sensed something unusual. It was not because of the power of heaven and earth, but because of the abnormality in his own tribulation space. As he passed by a certain palace, Chu Yang suddenly felt that the tribulation space was in chaos. The sword spirit exclaimed, "Stop! Stop!" Chu Yang was shocked and immediately stopped. The sword spirit said, "Stop quickly, the great miracle medicine is rebelling." Chu Yang was confused. The great miracle medicine is rebelling? What is this? How can it be? How can it be? There should be the last one of the great miracle medicine here. It can't be wrong. The sword spirit's voice was full of ecstasy. Chu Yang was also overjoyed. He had gone through so much trouble to get 8 kinds of the great miracle medicine. Could it be that he was going to get the last one now? He hurriedly explained a few things to Mo Tianji and the others. Mo Tianji and the others understood and went up first. Only Chu Yang was left here alone. The next moment, Chu Yang entered the tribulation space. As soon as he entered, he was immediately shocked by the scene in front of him. The great miracle medicines that he had originally obtained were basically discovered when he obtained the Calamity Sword. However, some of them weren't like that. In short, ever since Chu Yang obtained the great miracle medicines, other than having the special effect of rapid weight matching pills, they didn't show any other special effects. They also didn't show any special characteristics of the so-called miracle medicines. However, the commotion this time was very different from the past. In the sky above the tribulation space, there were streams of light flying back and forth. An icy aura swept past Chu Yang at high speed. It was the mysterious ice jade paste. It was emitting a cold white fog all over, swaying in the sky like a comet. After the icy aura, there was another hot aura. The two auras seemed to be in some kind of life and death battle. Chu Yang saw it clearly. This red light is the mysterious young jade essence. Immediately, 2 rays of light intertwined with each other. Wind and thunder shook. It was the heavenly jade ointment. Chu Yang clearly remembered that the heavenly jade ointment only needed one more step to reach the so-called heavenly heart of wind and thunder. There was also a green plant-like object flickering with the brilliance of life, swaying as it passed by. It was the profound jade ginseng crystal, which he had obtained from the city of elves. After being nurtured by the tribulation space and being stimulated by the magical heaven-earth arcane yellow fruit, the profound jade ginseng crystal had completely taken shape. It might not be as good as the other elixirs that had been stimulated, but it could be used normally. Its effect was far better than Diwu Qingru's mysterious jade ginseng. One was old enough, while the other was not old enough, and was even less mature. Naturally, they could not be mentioned in the same breath. In addition, there was also a pure and clean aura, and an evil and illusory aura intertwined as they flew past. They were the other 2 great miracle medicines. They were also natural enemies, the ethereal heaven crystal and the evil illusionary jade crystal. In the middle of the tribulation space, there was only a ray of energy that was as black as the night, standing proudly, flickering with an extremely dangerous aura. None of the other 7 spiritual herbs dared to approach it. Chu Yang carefully identified it. It was the heavenly poison jade crystal that represented the nemesis of all poisons in the world, as well as the number 1 poison in history. What's going on? What's going on? Chu Yang opened his mouth wide, unable to close it. Originally, these elixirs also had some slight mobility. But where would they be able to move so quickly? Not to mention flying around in the tribulation space on their own. Moreover, there was also a sense of joy, or perhaps anticipation. This seemed too abnormal. Whose palace is this? Chu Yang only felt a little agitated. He hurriedly came out of the tribulation space, grabbed a law enforcement officer beside him and asked, "Ah, it's the tribulation sword master." This law enforcement officer was a few hundred feet away. He was grabbed by Chu Yang's hand out of thin air. He was shocked by this amazing strength and realized that the one who grabbed him was actually the tribulation sword master. It took him a while to regain his senses. He said, "This is the palace where the Dharma Supreme lived when he was still around. Now, it's empty and no one lives here." "Yes, that's right. Bring me in to take a look, Chu Yang said immediately. Yu Lingshue's voice came from above. Sword Master, please make yourself at home. Okay. Chu Yang said loudly, thank you. You're welcome. Yu Lingxue didn't say anything else. Chu Yang entered in a flash. After he slapped the door of the palace, it turned into a big hole without a sound. Inside the palace, there was a big hall as far as the eye could see. Contrary to Chu Yang's expectations, this place was empty. It seemed that there was nothing inside. There was only a futon made of purple crystal in the middle of the hall. Obviously, when the Dharma Supreme was still around, he would sit on this futon and practice his martial arts in this palace. Other than that, there wasn't even a table, a chair, or a bed in the entire space. It was so simple yet so grand. Chu Yang stood solemnly for a moment, paying his last respects to the Dharma Supreme who had already passed away. No matter what this person did in the end, no matter what happened, he could completely abandon all the pleasures of the mortal world. He was clearly at the peak of the world and held the supreme power of the world, but he could still restrain himself and continue to live like an ascetic monk. This was indeed worthy of respect. He slowly walked to the front of the purple crystal futon, his eyes shining. He felt it. Ever since he came here, the 8 elixirs in the tribulation space became more active. Now that he was in front of the futon, the reaction was more intense. This meant, the target should be down there. Chu Yang reached out and lifted the entire purple crystal futon, revealing the ground below. At first glance, it looked no different from other places. Even the color was the same. Chu Yang thought for a moment. Then, the tribulation sword suddenly appeared and he stabbed it down. In just a moment, the hall was already full of square stones, each weighing tens of thousands of kilograms. And in the center of the room, there was a big hole. Chu Yang continued to dig downwards. Chu Yang suddenly felt a vast and mighty aura coming towards him after the time it took to drink a cup of tea. That aura made him feel as if he was facing the endless majesty of the vast sky. In the tribulation space, the 8 elixirs that were previously agitated all quietened down. Chu Yang slowly lifted the last layer of stone. What was revealed in front of him was a stone that was as clear as jade. Further down, it was all this kind of jade. This is Shen Tian divine jade. Even the previous masters of the tribulation sword didn't have the chance to get it. It has never appeared in the double heavens continent. The sword spirit floated out of the tribulation space excitedly and said, hurry up. Keep digging. Try to dig out all the Shen Tian divine jade. This kind of thing is very rare in the double heavens imperial court. It's a very good thing. Chu Yang was shocked. The tribulation sword also seemed to be energized. It dug crazily again and threw more than 10 pieces of Shen Tian divine jade into the tribulation space. And under the surface of the Shen Tian divine jade, there was a layer that was a little moist. Some soft cotton-like jade appeared. There's even the heart of the Shen Tian divine jade. The sword spirit's voice was trembling. That is to say, there may be more Shen Tian divine essence below. God is really looking after you. The tribulation sword continued to dig, but it only dug out the heart of the Shen Tian divine jade. Chu Yang was a little disappointed. Why is there so little? What's the use of this? The sword spirit looked at the tribulation sword master as if he was looking at a monster. What did you say? That's all? How much more do you want? You're just a country bumpkin who doesn't know anything. Do you think that precious jade is cabbage? Even Master definitely doesn't have such a big heart of the Shen Tian divine jade. Master doesn't even have 1/10 of this. That's already a treasure. Now, you've got so much at once. It's 10 times more than what Master has. You still dare to complain that it's too little? Don't make me laugh. This thing is actually so precious. Chu Yang grinned and threw the heart of the Shen Tian divine jade into the tribulation space. And below the heart of the Shen Tian divine jade was what appeared in front of Chu Yang. It was a small piece of jade the size of a palm. This small piece of jade, in terms of appearance, was very similar to the Shen Tian divine jade. It was very similar to the mysterious ice jade ointment, which was also a kind of semi-liquid substance. It seemed to be changing shape every moment. It was as if there were no changes at all. It only had one shape. It was extremely magical. The moment he saw the sun, the whole piece of jade suddenly flew into the air and slowly rotated around Chu Yang's right hand. As it rotated slowly, it flashed with sparkling and translucent colors. It seemed that there were thousands of stars in it. It had its own sun, moon, and stars. It was as if it had formed a world of its own. An unprecedented mighty power suddenly filled the entire space. Chu Yang suddenly felt that his heaven-splitting divine technique, under the influence of this vast power, had actually doubled the speed, or even more. This is really good stuff. Chu Yang looked at the newly obtained Shen Tian divine jade lovingly. In the tribulation space, the 8 great herbal medicines, which had already quieted down, started to vibrate again. The light emitted by the Shen Tian divine jade became more and more rapid, as if it was anxiously urging something. Chu Yang turned his hand and the Shen Tian divine jade entered the tribulation space. The next moment. Boom! The moment the Shen Tian divine jade entered the tribulation space, it suddenly emitted a strange light. It was as magnificent as the sun, illuminating the entire tribulation space. There was no place that was not illuminated. Then, the magnificent light flashed and disappeared. It transformed from a bright sun into an extra-large luminous pearl. It stopped in the sky above the tribulation space, constantly emitting a soft light. And the other 8 great herbal medicines also underwent very strange changes at the same time. Recommend a good book. Treasure Mirror by the Eye-Catching God. This book is really good. Everyone, go take a look and collect it. The Eye-Catching God will definitely not disappoint everyone. His genius physiognomist created a legend. This treasure mirror is even better than his predecessor. Chapter 1713. The Mysterious Ice Jade Ointment, Mysterious Young Jade Essence, Mysterious Jade Ginseng Crystal, Evil Illusion Jade Crystal, Heavenly Poison Jade Crystal, and Wind and Thunder Jade Ointment floated up at the same time, forming a small circle around the mysterious Heaven Divine Marrow. They were all floating in the air, motionless. It would be wrong to say that they were completely motionless. The 8 great herbal medicines, or rather, the 8 great spiritual jades, spontaneously emitted a kind of sparkling light, which gathered towards the mysterious Heaven Divine Marrow. The extremely pure energy was gradually absorbed by the mysterious Heaven Divine Marrow, and the light emitted by the mysterious Heaven Divine Marrow also transformed into the purest energy in the world, slowly and continuously feeding back to the 8 great herbal medicines. The great herbal medicines circulated in the air in the form of an endless cycle of energy, forming a mysterious circulation circle of its own. At this moment, the tribulation space suddenly became very beautiful. In the next moment, after the great change brought about by the heaven and earth arcane yellow fruit, another great change occurred in the tribulation space. It could be said that the sea had turned into mulberry fields. Chu Yang could even clearly feel that the change in the tribulation space was even greater than that of the heaven-earth mystery yellow fruit. At this moment, the tribulation space suddenly expanded to the surroundings by 10 times. At least 10 times. 10 times was already the most conservative estimate. It could be 20 times, or even more. At this moment, the tribulation space was no longer suitable to be described as a space. It had transformed into a small world, a world that one could not see the end of at a glance. The energy emitted by the great herbal medicines was extremely pure, and while circulating with each other, it was also constantly improving the quality of the spiritual energy in the tribulation space. Chu Yang took a deep breath in the tribulation space, and only felt comfortable all over. There was only one word that could describe this feeling in his heart. I really didn't expect that the great herbal medicines would be gathered together one day. From now on, Lord Swordmaster can cultivate at least 5 times faster in the tribulation space. The sword spirit sighed with relief, and this is just the beginning. When all the great herbal medicines condense into one, Lord Swordmaster's cultivation progress in the tribulation space will be even greater. I'm afraid even Lord Saint Lord can't imagine. There's such a thing. It's already very good. It's unexpectedly good. Chu Yang was extremely excited. Ever since Chu Yang had obtained the great miracle medicine, he had only used it to concoct heavy pills. It was as if the great miracle medicine was useless. It had never shown any miraculous effects. On the contrary, it was those things that accompanied the big wonder medicine that helped him a lot. The big wonder medicine itself seemed to have only one function: to save the dying, heal the injured, and to dispense medicine. Chu Yang had never understood how powerful this so-called great miracle medicine was. That was why he had such a transcendent status, because he looked so ordinary. Only now did he realize that the effects of this miraculous medicine were truly extraordinary. Furthermore, this was only the beginning. Actually, I have a very subtle feeling when I see this great miracle medicine like this. Chu Yang looked at the empty great miracle medicine. He said thoughtfully, "It's as if they were originally one." The sword spirit smiled. "I am afraid that no one can answer this question. I only know that according to the old legends, this great miracle medicine can display an extremely powerful energy once it is gathered. Moreover, it also contains a super big secret. As for the big secret, it is God. No matter who was capable. If he was lucky enough, he would be able to gather all the great herbs. He would be able to successfully walk towards God and become the existence closest to God. Even becoming a deity. Becoming a deity? Chu Yang's countenance changed. What was God? Chu Yang didn't know. No one knew either. But Chu Yang only knew that even Xue Leihan of the Heavenly Imperial Court might not be able to be called God. Now, the cooperation between the great miracle medicine has only just begun. Lord Swordmaster, you will definitely receive more surprises in the future. Looking forward to it. The sword spirit said happily. Of course I am looking forward to it. Chu Yang laughed. Now that the mysterious heaven divine essence had been settled, Chu Yang wanted to go out. After all, there was already a huge commotion over there. Perhaps there were already envoys taking action. Lord Swordmaster. The sword spirit hesitated. What is it? Don't hesitate, speak. Chu Yang was a little confused. The sword spirit rarely hesitated like this. What was going on? When we go to the Heavenly Imperial Court this time, Lord Swordmaster's tribulation space can be said to be a carrier in terms of its function. The family members of those brothers all need to stay here before they can go up together. The sword spirit said with some difficulty, but this space is the biggest secret that must not be known to outsiders. Especially this elixir garden, this purple crystal vault, and the great miracle medicine in front of us. These are the top and most dreamy legendary items in the world. Even in the Heavenly Imperial Court, it is still so. Sword Spirit hadn't finished speaking yet, but Chu Yang had already understood. I know what you want to say. I also know the seriousness of this matter. This has nothing to do with whether I believe them or not. The key point is, this matter involves too many things, right? Chu Yang's words were still very vague. He was more or less unwilling to talk about this topic. The sword spirit smiled. Yes, that's right. Once they know about it, they may intentionally or unintentionally tell others. They may not even need to reveal it because there is a great chance that they will be contaminated with the smell of the great miracle medicine. Then, they are destined to be noticed by some people in the Heavenly Imperial Court. You have just gone up, and you are far from enough to protect them. In that case, the consequences will be unimaginable. Indeed, if that happened, the result was destined to be a tragedy. It was needless to say. Then tell me, what should I do about this matter? Chu Yang frowned and asked. If they didn't go to the tribulation space, where should they go? This matter is easy to deal with. I can open up a separate space in the tribulation space and let them stay there. The spiritual energy there is not lacking. In fact, it is much stronger than the outside world. Whether it is for cultivation or other things, it is absolutely suitable. As long as they don't come out, they naturally won't be contaminated with anything that they shouldn't be contaminated with. At the same time, they definitely won't know what else is in this space. The sword spirit looked at Chu Yang very carefully. He was really not sure whether Chu Yang would agree or not. He knew that Chu Yang valued friendship very much. He had also personally experienced it. If the matter was really serious, he might not have made it clear at this moment. Okay, let's do it. Chu Yang agreed at once. Yes. I will do it right away. Ah, you have agreed. Do you agree? The sword spirit agreed immediately, but immediately exposed his previous worries. What you said makes a lot of sense. You have considered everything thoroughly. Why wouldn't I agree? Brotherhood is more important than life and death, but if it only involves some trivial matters, such as the life and death of one's family, it is not impossible. What's more, if it is something that needs to be considered as a matter of course, how can I be someone who doesn't know the importance and act blindly? Chu Yang replied with a smile. In fact, Chu Yang had considered more long-term than the sword spirit. His brothers and sisters had all sneaked into the heavenly imperial court from the tribulation space. They had great trust in each other. However, the burden on Chu Yang's shoulders was very heavy. It was a heavy burden that he could not afford to make even the slightest mistake. How could Chu Yang let them know about those secrets that could lead to trouble? He would rather hide it and let himself be deceived for a while. Chu Yang would never allow any accidents to happen to them. Seeing that Chu Yang really agreed, the sword spirit immediately got to work. While Chu Yang was walking out to meet up with Jiyu Duxing and the others, the sword spirit had already finished the transformation in the tribulation space. A separate and independent space was isolated from the rest of the world. The spiritual energy in this space was unusually dense, except for the absence of the aura of the great miracle medicine. It was full of spiritual energy. It was definitely more than 10 times denser than the place with the densest spiritual energy in the heavenly imperial court. And there were many rooms inside, with beds and other daily necessities. Even a kitchen was prepared. This was completely the appearance of a complete home. No matter who came here, they could live without worrying about food and clothing for a lifetime. Of course, the premise was that they could bear the loneliness. Of course, with 5 people inside, how could they not bear the loneliness? Chu Yang was very satisfied with this. Although it was impossible to let Jiyu Miaoling and the others stay in the tribulation space for a long time, Chu Yang still prepared everything to the fullest extent. Along the way, he could clearly feel the changes in the tribulation space, especially the huge changes after the great miracle medicine was gathered. Chu Yang only felt extremely excited. He knew that he had really hit the jackpot this time. Regardless of whether what the sword spirit said before about his trash physique was true or not, with this change now, Chu Yang had absolute confidence that even in the heavenly imperial court, he could definitely compete with any so-called genius and not be at a disadvantage. Because even if he had such a trash physique that it was difficult to advance, the environment created by his tribulation space and the great miracle medicine could at least increase his cultivation speed by 5 times. Coupled with Chu Yang's own efforts and the best cultivation technique, the heaven-splitting divine technique, Chu Yang was absolutely sure that his cultivation speed was more than 10 times that of others. Even if it was the trash physique. So what? It was up to man to conquer the world. However, it's just that I'm improving quickly. It's not something to be proud of or happy about. Is there any way to let Jiyu Duxing and the others improve like this? Chu Yang asked. Lord Sword Master, this unforeseen event is an opportunity for you. As for the others, they will also have their own encounters. There are some things that you can't do all by yourself. If you meddle in everything, you will only harm them. Moreover, there's an old saying in the heavenly imperial court, if you raise the rice, you'll be grateful, but if you raise the rice, you'll be hated. This is very true. The sword spirit warned solemnly. Yes. I'll remember. Chu Yang's heart trembled. Dear friends, the Saint Hall game is starting, please help out. After reading the book, relax and play Saint Hall with the Guru. The online game Saint Hall, which is adapted from the Skeleton Fairy novel, is officially starting its beta test today. There are beautiful girls in the game to accompany me to play, chat, kill monsters, and level up. I'm having a great time. Chapter 17:14. Regardless of whether you are a friend or a brother, you can't blindly give without receiving anything in return. If that's the case, and everyone is used to your giving, that's... The sword spirit smiled slightly and ended this sentence. Chu Yang's eyes focused and he was deep in thought. After a long while, he nodded lightly. Oh, by the way, if they are contaminated with the energy of the great miracle medicine in the tribulation space, it will be discovered by someone. What about me? Chu Yang asked doubtfully. Chu Yang said, won't others discover me? I need to use that energy to cultivate. Won't I be discovered even more easily? There is a decisive difference between the two. You have the tribulation sword and can perfectly hide this aura. No one will be able to detect it. That's what it is. The sword spirit smiled rather relaxedly. I see. Chu Yang said, while there's still time, let's quickly use this evolved wonder medicine to refine some heavy pills. The more the better. Chu Yang said, after we go up, it's probably inevitable that we will split up. With more elixirs by our side, our brothers will also have more means to protect their lives. It will make me less worried. The sword spirit sighed somewhat reluctantly, but he still obeyed the order. Right now, the great miracle medicine was in an endless cycle, and it could be said that there was an inexhaustible supply. Thus, the sword spirit could only be stingy and long-winded in the past. Besides, the sword spirit also knew how much Chu Yang valued his brothers. If Chu Yang couldn't feel at ease, or if Chu Yang refused to refine heavy pills for his brothers, Chu Yang would definitely fly into a rage. Even if Chu Yang banished Chu Yang, it wouldn't be strange at all. The sword spirit only clicked his tongue in pity. It was both a good and bad thing to be greedy for a master who valued friendship too much. This time, a large batch of elixirs in the elixir gardens would be lost again. Seeing that Chu Yang had finally come up, everyone smiled in relief. Elders Feng and you, I'm very sorry for digging a big hole in the law enforcement city. Chu Yang said frankly, I just arrived here. I accidentally discovered one of the great miracle medicine. I took it without permission. Please forgive me. The Moonbreeze couple laughed at the same time and said, forgive me? Whatever you get your hands on is yours. That is your chance. The secret that the law enforcement city had been unable to uncover for many years was finally revealed today. It turned out that the miraculous medicine was supporting the spiritual vein here. It has lasted for a full 10,000 years. But now that the Dharma Supreme is gone, the heavenly layer is too far below the standard of a martial artist. There is no more use in keeping that spirit vein. Besides, if you didn't discover it, it would only be letting such a divine item continue to be covered in dust. Wouldn't that be a waste of God's gift? Chu Yang smiled and said, you're not exaggerating. The spirit vein can still be used. I left some things inside to ensure that the spirit vein won't be damaged. In addition, I also have a small gift for the virtuous couple. It may not be enough to make up for the loss of the law enforcement city. This is just my sincerity. Please don't refuse. The Moonbreeze couple still wanted to refuse, but they saw Chu Yang stretch out his palm. In the palm of his hand, there was a half-yin object shrouded in a hazy glow. He passed it over to Feng Yuro. Just by smelling this aura, Feng Yuro felt comfortable all over. The pregnancy symptoms caused by her pregnancy seemed to have all disappeared in an instant. At the same time, Chu Yang's voice sounded in the Moonbreeze couple's ears. This is the new energy derived from the fusion of the miraculous medicine. I have extracted a part of it. With this, I believe that the baby in your womb will have excellent aptitude and will be immune to all diseases. Moreover, after he slowly refines all of it, I believe that there will be no more bottlenecks in his path of cultivation and he will have a smooth journey ahead. The Moonbreeze couple was greatly shocked when they heard that. From their point of view, it was no big deal for Chu Yang to take away the item that was originally in the Dharma Supreme's room. In fact, even if Chu Yang didn't take it away, that room would definitely not be used by anyone else. It was equivalent to a useless item. But after Chu Yang took it away, not only did he openly admit that he had taken it away, he even gave them such a valuable gift in return. If it had been any other gift, it would have been fine. But this gift was something that the Moonbreeze couple couldn't reject at all. How could they reject the child's future? How could they reject it? Excellent aptitude. No bottlenecks in life. As top-notch martial arts experts, how could the Moonbreeze couple not understand the weight of these two sentences? Chu Yang had considered all the thoughts and concerns of these two people before he decided to give this gift. Then, thank you very much. Feng Yuro was extremely agitated. To her, she had finally gotten pregnant after more than 10,000 years of waiting. The child was more important than anything else. To Feng Yuro, this gift of Chu Yang's was undoubtedly more precious and important than any other gift. Yes, Elder can actually take it now and slowly nourish the child from now on. Not only will all the negative reactions during the pregnancy disappear, but it will also make the child healthier and make him a peerless genius from the moment he is born. Chu Yang smiled and said, "Of course, Elder should be very familiar with how to control the energy." Of course, Feng Yuro said excitedly. At this moment, her gratitude toward Chu Yang was really at its peak. "Oh right, your child's name is Miyu?" At the side, Wu Juecheng asked casually. Feng Yuro took the magical crystal that contained the essence of the rare herbs and controlled it extremely carefully, not letting any of it leak out. She secretly made up her mind to leave the complete gift for the child. Hearing Wu Juecheng's question, Yu Lingxue looked at his wife lovingly and said, "I'm still thinking about it. Right now, I'm just thinking that if it's a boy, he'll be called Yu Xingchen. His nickname will be Xingchen. If it's a girl, we'll hope that she'll grow up happily. Ru'er likes butterflies, so if it's a girl, she'll be called Yu Xiaodai. How about that? Like a happy little butterfly. Hu hu hu. The name is not bad." Wu Juecheng took advantage of his seniority and said, "Her nickname will be Dai-er?" "Yes." Feng Yuro smiled gently. Her hands were always in front of ZJ's lower abdomen. Very good, very good." Chu Yang said jokingly, "If it's a boy, he'll be sworn brothers with that troublemaker of mine. If it's a girl, she'll be my little wife. I've calculated that if it's really a girl, in the whole heavens, only my little one is worthy of her. You're really good at scheming, and you're shameless and shameless." Mo Tianji snorted and said, "You've just given out something good and you're thinking of taking it back to your family. You even have to take back a daughter-in-law. Why don't you say she'll be my daughter-in-law? If your little one is worthy, am I not worthy if I have a child?" Chu Yang snorted and said with a sideways glance, "By the time you give birth, it'll be too late. Can you be like me? Also, who do you think can compete with me on that side?" Mo Tianji was flabbergasted. He was left speechless. Yu Lingxue laughed and said, "Good idea, it's settled then. If it's a boy, the two of them will be sworn brothers. If it's a girl, we'll be in-laws. It's also a good thing to be in-laws with the Tribulation Sword Master." Feng Yuro also smiled and nodded. Everyone talked as if this matter was set in stone. The discussion was in full swing. In the end, they burst out laughing together. "Now, we don't even know whether the child is a boy or a girl. It seems that these parents are a little too enthusiastic, but in that way, Boss's seniority will rise a lot." Jimo shook his head and said, "This is a good idea. With a good in-law, your status will rise to 10,000 years ago and you'll become an ancestor. This is really a good deal. I'll do it in the future too. With such a good deal, I won't mind making 10 pieces a day." Everyone burst into laughter. Jimo was still the same. He didn't think too much about it. Huyen Aobo stretched out her hand and pinched Jimo. "You still want to make 10 pieces a day? Do you think I'm a prostitute?" Jimo bared his teeth and begged for mercy. Everyone laughed even harder. Happy times always passed quickly. Mo Tianji seemed to have thought of something. He said, "Let's gather together first. There are some things that need to be explained first." "About something? So serious?" Everyone asked together. "It's about the shattering of the void." Mo Tianji's voice was very heavy. He said, "I've thought about it carefully just now. There are a few people that boss needs to bring along, including Ao Xieyun's 2 wives, Xie Danqiong's sister-in-law, Misty. There's also Jimo's wife, Aobo, Duxing's sister-in-law, Sister Xiaomiao. Tan Tan's sister, Dan Feng. Is there anyone else?" Everyone looked at each other and said, "Thank you." Mo Tianji said, "In this way, there are 7 people." He turned and asked Chu Yang, "Boss, is there a problem on your side?" "There's definitely a problem." Chu Yang patted his chest and said, "Brothers, don't worry. I won't let any harm come to your sisters-in-law with me." Ao Xieyun, Xie Danqiong, Jiyu Duxing and Jimo bowed together. "We'll leave everything to you, boss." Mo Tianji raised his hand and gestured for everyone to keep quiet. he said, after we go up, there's a great chance that we'll be scattered all over the place. In the future, we might not have the chance to bring our families back. In this period of time, we'll have to trouble you, boss. Chapter 17:15. The other thing, the most important thing is. Mo Tianji's voice suddenly became serious and solemn. Our only mission this time is to fight against the heavenly demons and exterminate the heavenly demons. However, before our strength reaches a certain level, we won't be able to achieve anything. Therefore, increasing our strength is always our top priority. Secondly, power. If we really want to fight against the heavenly demons, we can't rely on just the few of us. Therefore, whether we are together or not, each of us has to develop our own power. Mo Tianji stared at his brothers and said in a deep voice, I don't care what method you use. In short, when we meet again in the Heaven Imperial Palace, I want our power to be able to make the Heaven Imperial Palace tremble. This is a huge challenge and an extremely harsh request. Mo Tianji said seriously, especially Ji Mo and Luo Ku Di. The two of you have to be especially careful. You have to bear the responsibility that you should bear. Yes. Ji Mo and Luo Ku Di replied solemnly. They knew that this might be the last time that they would accept Mo Tianji's arrangement for a long time. I don't know if we will definitely separate this time. However, I sincerely hope that we will separate from each other and do our own things. Each of us has our own business and each of us has our own power. Chu Yang's voice was somewhat gloomy as he said, perhaps you haven't realized it yet, but some of the relationships between us brothers have already changed a little. You are becoming more and more obedient to me. You are even following me blindly. This is not good. If this goes on for a long time, perhaps you will all become my subordinates. We will form a strict subordinate relationship. However, that kind of change is something that I abhor. It is the most impossible and unwilling to accept. There are many subordinates in this world. However, there are very few brothers who can be recognized. Chu Yang took a deep breath and said, I hope that each of us can become the ruler of the Heaven Imperial Palace. Each of us can become an overlord in the Heaven Imperial Palace. Even if we are not together, each of us can still laugh proudly in the sky and command the wind and cloud. Yes, big brother. Jiu Du Xing and the other's eyes shone. He stared at Chu Yang. Chu Yang's words might not sound pleasant, but they were the true embodiment of his inner feelings. They were also his most sincere blessings to his brothers. And Elder Wu, you. Chu Yang turned to look at Wu Jueqing. Wu Jueqing also turned to look. I know that Senior Wu wants to find his brother. We understand this feeling very well. But, this junior still wants to give Senior Wu a word of advice. Chu Yang pondered for a moment. Then, he said, don't be too hasty. Senior Wu's brothers have already charged forward for a long time. His current strength has probably risen to a height that we can't even imagine. The Heavenly Devil battlefield, on the other hand, had never stopped fighting. It was a continuous battle, any battle there. Even if it's just the aftermath of the battle, I'm afraid it's not something we can withstand with our current cultivation. Wu Jueqing's expression was rather downcast. He said, I understand. The purpose of my trip this time is to reunite with my brothers. Fighting side by side with them is definitely not a burden to the brothers. I will work hard to increase my own strength before going. I definitely cannot let the brothers just see me. Then, they will have to bear the pain of sending me off. Chu Yang heaved a long sigh of relief. He said, I'm really relieved that Senior can think this way. Other than that, it's Qingwu, Le and Lei the three girls. Chu Yang said, things may not turn out as we wish. After charging up, we may not necessarily be in the same area. The three of you are the ones I'm most worried about. Mo Qingwu said softly, don't worry. As long as I go up to the Heavenly Imperial Court, I will completely hide myself and not easily reveal myself in front of others. I will do my best to increase my strength and then slowly look for you. Me too. Chu Le waved her little fist and said provocatively, Mo Qingwu, I'll compete with you. Let's see who can find my big brother first. All right. Let's compete. Mo Qingwu's eyes lit up. The loser has to promise the winner one thing, anything. Chulura rolled her eyes. It's a deal. Two fair little hands clapped together. They really did it as if there was no one else around, especially the one who was the wager and was in a state of shock. Mo Lei'er smiled calmly and looked at Dong Wushong affectionately. She said, I will also try my best to find Wushong and meet up with him. If I can't find him in a short period of time, then I will increase my strength first and then establish my own Black Devil organization in the Heavenly Imperial Court. That's great. Mo Tianji and Chu Yang clapped and laughed at the same time. Among all the girls, the one who was the least worrisome was Mo Lei'er. As the successor of the Black Devils and the current generation of Black Devils, there was no doubt that she could make people feel at ease wherever she went. She would definitely not have any safety concerns. Other than that, there's another request, which is, Mo Tianji said seriously, I don't care what methods you use to develop, but there's one thing you have to remember. Although we have to be in control, we can't be under anyone or any force. Just like what Big Brother said, if we want to do it, we must be the highest in control, the overlord of a region. We can't allow anyone to restrict us and we can't depend on anyone. Yes. At this point, everything had been arranged properly. Mo Qingwu walked over lightly and stood in front of Tai Butian. Tai Butian couldn't help but feel a little nervous. She knew that this beautiful girl in front of her was Chu Yang's true lover. She was also the one that Chu Yang had always placed in the deepest part of his heart, the most precious one. Although she had already had a physical relationship with Chu Yang and had even given birth to a child, in terms of weight in Chu Yang's heart, she really couldn't compare to this girl in front of her. This girl's attitude towards her was undoubtedly decisive. Therefore, when she saw that Mo Qingwu was obviously walking over with her as her target, even though Tai Butian was a talented and bold monarch, she couldn't help but feel a little nervous and uneasy. Sister Butian. Mo Qingwu walked up to Tai Butian and called out affectionately. Then, she held on to her arm. Her movements were natural and coordinated and her expression was even more affectionate. For a moment, Tai Butian actually had a subtle feeling of being flattered. She didn't know that the biggest love rival in her life didn't resent her at all. Instead, she was so affectionate towards her. Of course, she didn't know that all the work had been done for her by that darling of hers. Sister Qingwu. Tai Butian hurriedly smiled. Yes, in the future, after we go to the Imperial Court, if I'm not by Chu Yang's side, I'll have to trouble Sister to take care of him. Mo Qingwu said somewhat sadly. He's a rough person and doesn't think much. He doesn't wash his feet every night. You must remember to remind him. Tai Butian couldn't help but laugh. Sister Qingwu, don't worry. I'll take good care of your brother Chu Yang. I'll wait for you to come back and reunite with us soon. Sister Qingwu is so magnanimous. Butian also hopes that we can be together soon and be good sisters for life. Yes, good sisters for life. Mo Qingwu happily held her hand. Her eyes were a little red as she said, Sister, the most important thing is to take good care of this playboy. This person is really too worrisome. The two girls whispered to each other at the side. Chu Yang perked up his ears and listened. His anxious heart slowly calmed down. Yes, this world is finally at peace. At this moment, a series of crackling sounds were heard. Suddenly, countless lightning bolts appeared in the sky, moving around the entire firmament. An extremely heavy pressure slowly pressed down from the sky. Everyone had a subtle feeling of wanting to kneel down and worship him. This was the purest power of heaven and earth. The dark clouds in the sky pressed down violently. In the sky, a voice that could shake heaven and earth said, Heavenly Imperial Palace's guide, who is the one who's broken? The guide who broke through the void had finally arrived. The brothers looked at each other and stood up at the same time. They faced the firmament. Above the clouds in the sky, golden-armored giants were standing on top of the clouds, looking down with dignified expressions. But there was a strong suspicion in everyone's heart. They heard that there was only one guide at a time. Why were there so many this time? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, there were exactly 14 of them. Could it be that each person was responsible for one? What was going on? Moreover, Although these guys looked extremely majestic, why was there a faint sense of nervousness in their eyes? It seemed that they were more nervous than us who were being guided. What were they nervous about? Well, maybe it shouldn't be said that they were nervous. They were actually a little scared. Why? What was going on? Chuyang waved his hand. Amidst a series of take care and parting gazes, Jiyu Miaoling, Huyen Aobua, Tai Butian and the others were already taken into the tribulation space. Then, Chuyang raised his head and said calmly, "Thank you for your trouble." As soon as Chuyang spoke, the solemn faces of the guides disappeared. They laughed dryly in unison. We don't dare. This is what we should do. We don't dare to say that we've troubled you." Everyone thought in unison. It seemed that this was the case. Chapter 17:16. He tried his best to imagine 14 people who were supposed to be godlike existences in this heavenly continent, riding the sky-traversing golden bridge, standing high above the colorful clouds, looking down at the world, but suddenly smiling dryly at the people below. What would you think if you saw such a scene? Regardless of what others would think, Moonbreeze and the rest shuddered when they saw such a scene. Stupefied, dumbfounded, and disheveled, it was not a problem. Damn it, the number of envoys they had seen was pitifully few. Now that they finally had the chance to meet one today, they were prepared to admire the expert's demeanor. In the end, they saw a group of experts who were supposed to be high and mighty suddenly revealing a somewhat fawning, strange expression like that of lapdogs. This was really too damaging to their image. Although Chuyang muttered in his heart, he still asked calmly, "May I ask, envoys, since so many people have come at once, do you want to disperse us to different parts of the heavenly imperial palace?" The leading envoy said, "Your guess is right. This is the rule of the heavenly imperial palace. Those who break through the void together in the same place are not allowed to enter the same area. We are also doing things according to the rules. We really don't dare to go against it." That envoy muttered in his heart, "It must be because this young one is clearly clear about the rules of the heavenly imperial palace. What does he mean by asking this? Is he hinting that we should arrange everything for them?" This was not easy to handle. If it was just 1 or 2 people, it would be fine, but with such a large group of people, it was impossible to arrange them all in the same area, not to mention the Lord's orders. But if they rejected him directly, they would probably offend this young one. What should they do? There was no way out. This was going to be fatal. Chuyang made a no sound and put his hands behind his back. With a graceful bearing, he said lightly, "How is the Lord?" What kind of exquisite heart did Chuyang have? He was really someone who knew the beginning and the end, and could completely deduce the general situation with just a little observation. Were the envoys of the heavenly imperial palace lapdogs? Obviously not. And were these lapdogs in front of him the envoys of the heavenly imperial palace? Definitely. Why were they so wary of him? Even if Chuyang used his butt to think, he could guess it. This was definitely related to Xue Leihan. Who was Xue Leihan? Dong Huang. With such a good opportunity, how could Chuyang not use the tiger's skin as a banner to intimidate others? Hearing this, the 14 envoys shuddered in unison in the air. As expected, this little one is here. The leader was still calculating in his heart. When Piu Yi heard the words Jun Shong, he subconsciously stood at attention, puffing out his chest and saying, "Thanks to Jun Shong's good health." His expression and tone became even more respectful. "Yes." Chuyang nodded his head gracefully. "May I ask how many regions are there in the imperial palace?" The leading emissary said, "There are a total of 10 territories, but the outermost one has been blocked, so there is only one left." With his hands behind his back, Chuyang paced 2 steps and scolded, "Motherfucker, that purple cloud heavens hasn't recovered yet." The 14 emissaries shuddered in unison. Damn. Could it be that this person was actually a nationalistic youth from back then? How arrogant. This vile tone, this dissatisfaction, was simply, yes, the Skyfiend is rampant, but now, the war in Purple Cloud Heaven is endless, and the Heaven Imperial Court is still stable. We are of lowly status, so we really don't know. The leading emissary was already nodding his head and bowing. His head also seemed to be about to break out in sweat. "Motherfucker, To actually meet such a living ancestor in this mission. Forget it. Chu Yang turned around and said lightly, "It's about purple cloud heavens. Let's talk about it after I go up." The 14 people above shuddered in unison. Who could tell them who exactly this person was? Chu Yang grunted and said, "Well, we have a total of 14 people this time. May I ask, how are we going to divide this territory? Even if we can't all gather in one place, there should at least be a few in one region, right?" When Moonbreeze and the rest saw that Chu Yang actually spoke to the emissary from the imperial court in such a manner, they were all stunned. The emissary's loss of composure was his own matter, but for Chu Yang to be able to talk to him so freely and talk to him as an equal was an anomaly. No, the conversation between the two still seemed to be led by Chu Yang. Moreover, Chu Yang's attitude was arrogant, as if he was asking a subordinate, and the emissary was also answering his questions respectfully, very cooperative. What exactly was going on? They were supposed to meet a god today, but why did it seem like they had bumped into a ghost now? The emissary frowned and said with a bitter face, "It was supposed to be like this. However, even if one or two of them happened to be in the same region, they still have to be separated. The Heaven Imperial Court's territory is vast, more than 1,000 times larger than this heavenly continent. Even if they are in the same region, there are many restrictions between the regions. If the cultivation of either side is not enough, it will be very difficult to break through the restrictions and gather together." Chu Yang frowned and said, "Oh? So it's like this." Sweat broke out on the emissary's face. He said, "This is not only the Heaven Imperial Court's rule, but also His Majesty's special instructions. I really don't dare to go against it. Please forgive me, don't blame me." Moonbreeze and the others continued to be dumbfounded at this scene. If not for their eye sockets, their eyes would definitely have popped out. It was really too shocking. Wasn't the emissary's attitude a little too exaggerated? Why did something that was supposed to be a matter of course become something that could only be done if Chu Yang was magnanimous and didn't mind? This seemed a little too strange, wasn't it? Chu Yang nodded lightly and said, "Since there are rules in place, then there's no harm. I have another request. Can the emissary please make it convenient for me?" This long drawl didn't sound like a request at all, but more like an order. In the sky, the 14 emissaries felt their balls ache at the same time. Damn it, what was going on today? They really wanted to beat themselves up. They wouldn't dare to touch the person in front of them even if they were beaten to death. In the past, they and the others were the ones who received people to break through to the Heaven Imperial Court. How majestic and domineering was that? Which one of those who were received wasn't extremely respectful? Whatever they said was the law. Was there a place for you to bargain? Why was it that this time, with a total of 14 of them going out together, they met such a piece of trash? He actually chatted with them, the Heaven Imperial Court emissaries. Not only chatted, but he was also arrogant. Not only was he arrogant, but he also dared to request for convenience. He directly gave an order. But the few of them really didn't dare to not make this convenience. If it was someone else, they would probably have directly said, "Make my ass." Then, he gave him a good beating. But this person in front of them, who dared? Didn't she ask how is Jun Shong? This sentence already showed that he had someone above him. And this person was a big shot that determined his level. The kind that could blow the 14 of them away with a fart from this big shot. This request for convenience. This was clearly a blatant threat. It was just that they were really unlucky today. Why was it their turn to be on duty? If this convenience was given, what if it violated the laws of heaven? May I know what request it is? We are just a few small emissaries and don't have much authority. I'm afraid we don't have enough power. The leading emissary suppressed his temper and said, "Hurry up and say that we are small officials and don't have the ability to meet your requests. Emissary, please rest assured. We definitely won't make things too difficult for you. We are all men, it's naturally not a big deal for us to go our separate ways. But there are a few women in our group, they are all the wives of our brothers. It's a little unreasonable to let the husband and wife be separated in two places, right?" Chu Yang said seriously, "I heard that there are a lot of perverts in the Heaven Imperial Court. We are really worried about them going alone. Haha, we are all men, you know. So. Chu Yang threw over a "we are all men, we understand" tacitly look. Cough 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 cough. The 14 people in the air coughed in unison. There are a lot of perverts in the Heaven Imperial Court. You actually heard about it. May I ask who you heard it from? Where did you hear it from? Moreover, look at all of you, you are obviously the most standard and orthodox perverts, you even brought your wives along to break through the void. Who is more perverted than the other? The one who had the least right to call him a pervert was the leader of the group. You fucking put away 5 great beauties just now. Do you think we're blind and didn't see it? You are simply shameless. For a moment. The 14 people had the same feeling at the same time. I'm afraid that after this little guy goes up, there will be another weirdo in the pervert's world. And with someone at the top, the Heaven Imperial Court won't be peaceful anymore. In short, this guy is definitely a scourge. A huge scourge. My request is to be in the same territory as my wife. Anyway, there will definitely be people in the same territory. I will be grateful if the emissary can make things easy for me. Chu Yang pointed at Mo Qingwu and then said, and my brother Dong Wushang and his wife, please don't be separated too. Oh right, my sister too, it's best if she can be in the same territory as me. If the 3 of them are together, it's also fine to let her be with her teacher. I believe that to the emissary, this is just a piece of cake and has nothing to do with the rules. As he spoke, he pointed at Wu Jueqing. Chu Yang's initial plan was to insist that Chu Le be with him. But when he thought of his weakness of being overly protective, he was afraid that Chu Le really wouldn't have many opportunities to train with him, taking a step back and letting Le be with Wu Jueqing. Although Wu Jueqing would also take good care of Le, he would be able to let Chu Le go out to train. Just based on this point alone, he was really better than Chu Yang. Other than that, Chu Yang had another plan. When Wu Jueqing went up this time, he would definitely try his best to find out about the whereabouts of his brothers. As long as he heard any news about them, he might not be able to hold himself back. Once he got in touch with them, yes, then it would be relatively safe for his sister to be with him. It would be much safer than for her to be with him. This was Chu Yang's wishful thinking. Chapter 1717. The 14 people above seemed to discuss among themselves. Finally, the leading envoy nodded and said, "This should not be a problem. It's within the scope of our duties to open the door for you, but this is all we can do." Chu Yang narrowed his eyes and smiled. Thank you. This is enough. I will definitely not forget your kindness in the future." When the crowd saw the 4 people in the sky, they all smiled. We were waiting for you to say that. As the saying goes, ask for a sky-high price, but pay as low as you fall. If we don't make things clear, who knows how many more conveniences this shameless girl in front of us will ask for. There are a total of 4 areas that can be entered. Apart from these 3 women, there are 11 more people. The leading envoy said, since we have opened the door, we might as well make things more convenient for you. You can decide for yourselves. Who else? I hope it's. Before Chu Yang could speak, Mo Tianji had already raised his hand. Me. Everyone looked at each other in shock. Mo Tianji didn't say anything just now. Competing for the right to accompany Chu Le was already very surprising. Now that he jumped out to choose the area, it was even more surprising. Why are there so many strange things happening today? I'm not very picky. I'm very worried about my sister. It would naturally be best if I could be in the same area as my sister. Of course, if it makes things difficult for the envoy, I can also choose to be in the same area as Elder Wu. I'm very willing to listen to his teachings. Either side is fine. Mo Tianji said calmly, righteously, and with great logic in his hands. Chu Yang's mouth twitched. This guy's ambition was very clear, but his logic was so easy to understand. You're the brains of the tribulation, but you're actually thinking about such things. It's really despicable. I can go to any area. My only request is that I must be determined to be separated from them. Jimo shouted. I must be independent. Luo Kudi didn't want to be outdone. He shouted, same for me. I must be independent. Rui Biu Tong puffed out his chest. And me. Ao Xieyun and the others also made their requests. In an instant, the 10 or so people were facing the 14 envoys in the sky. The scene was a little chaotic. At the side, the Moonbreeze couple's jaws had already dropped. The 14 envoys in the sky frowned at the same time. Motherfucker, who do you think you're old? You bastard who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Chuyang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He shook his head and said, "Thank you for your help. Let's make it random. Just put it where it is. It doesn't matter." "That's good too," the leading emissary said, "but there's one thing I have to remind you. After you go up, you can only rely on yourselves to walk the rest of the way. Life and death, victory and defeat, it was all up to fate. Don't even think about asking for extra care. We can't go out to receive heaven and earth." Chuyang said, "Of course." The brothers stared at each other for a long time. He had already said everything he wanted to say. Separation was imminent. After today's parting, who knew when they would meet again? Between each domain and the domain, there was a limit to one's cultivation level. Even if one wanted to wander around in the same area, one's cultivation level would still be limited. Then, when would the brothers meet again? That was something that no one could say for sure. "Brothers." Chuyang forced a smile and said, "Heavens, we've gone through countless ups and downs. However, our achievements today are already unprecedented. In the short span of 4 years, we've achieved our current status from nothing. If someone told us this 4 years ago, that you'll stand at the peak of the heavens continent and break through the void after 4 years, would you believe that?" Jiu Duxing and the others looked at Chuyang with their eyes shining. No one said a word, but their eyes were burning. Indeed, if someone told them this 4 years ago, no one would believe that. "We've gone through 4 years of hardships from nothing. Now, we're well prepared. We'll be ready to set out again. Then, how many years will it take to reach our current status in the Heaven's Imperial Court?" Chuyang laughed and said proudly, "Among us brothers, who is willing to be below others? Is there anyone? If we want to do it, we'll be the boss. Other than the boss, I don't care about anyone else." Chuyang laughed. Suddenly, he felt that his heart was clear. Since his rebirth, he had always felt heavy pressure. The fate of his previous life was like fate, pressing down on his body. Every moment, it was like walking on thin ice. He was afraid of repeating the same mistakes and repeating the same tragedy. But, until now, at the moment when he was about to break through the void, Chuyang finally realized. He had completely changed the original trajectory of history. He had really reversed the wheel of fate. All the tragedies in the past could no longer happen. Therefore, Chuyang's heart suddenly relaxed. The long-lost arrogance reappeared in him. But now, no one said that this was arrogance. No one dared to say it. Especially no one had the right to say it. Because Chuyang had this now. With this kind of strength, he had this kind of confidence. No matter how arrogant he was, in everyone's eyes, they could only say that this was self-confidence. Monstrous self-confidence. Chuyang was wearing a black robe. He looked up to the sky and laughed. His hair was messy and his clothes were fluttering in the wind. Looking at the arrogant Chuyang, the brothers didn't say anything, but their eyes were shining. Boss was right. Since we've gone from nothing to ruling the Heaven's Imperial Court in 4 years, so what if we're about to face the Heaven's Imperial Court? Nothing more than that. Mo Qingwu looked at Chuyang with infatuation. Her eyes were full of love. This is the kind of Chuyang that I like. No matter how difficult it was, he never fell. He never bent his spine. No matter how difficult it was, he always faced it with determination. Now, when he stood at the top of the world, he smiled. He could finally smile happily. But, who knew that among all the people standing here today, only one person was qualified to smile like this? This person was Chuyang. There was only Chuyang. He should smile. Smile happily, smile freely, and smile to his heart's content. Mo Qingwu shouted, "Chuyang, wait for me. I'll find you soon." As she shouted, tears rolled down her cheeks. She looked out with teary eyes. Chuyang's body was already in the clouds. Chu Yang laughed and said, "If you don't find me, I'll find you. You're my destined wife. I'll kill whoever dares to touch you. Not even the Tianqiu saint could do it." Ha ha ha. The 14 people in the sky clicked their tongues at the same time. This little one was really crazy, crazy beyond imagination. In the entire Heaven Imperial Court, who dared to talk about Lord Saint like this? Even if it was behind their backs or in private, no one would dare to talk about it. But this little brat was actually shouting in broad daylight without the slightest scruple. Awesome people indeed had awesome thoughts. Only the most awesome people dared to do such awesome things. Thunder suddenly exploded in the sky. The leading guide said loudly, "Everyone, the gate to the Heaven Imperial Court is open. Please move forward." Then, golden light suddenly appeared in the sky. Thousands of colorful streaks and a strange fragrance wafted over. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, everyone who saw it sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. There were a total of 14 golden bridges that connected heaven and earth. They appeared abruptly in the void. As long as one wasn't blind, they could see it clearly. The entire sky was filled with boundless golden light. Southeast. Chu Clan. Young Ruolan looked at the golden light in the sky. Her whole body trembled. She suddenly rushed out and shouted, Yang, my son. You must be well. You must be well. Mother will wait for you to come back to see me." Young Ruolan looked up and shouted, tears streaming down her face. She knew that Chu Yang wouldn't see her grief at this moment. Since he wouldn't see it, it wouldn't affect her son's state of mind. So she burst out without restraint. He used all the strength in his body to roar out his thoughts and blessings towards the heavens and earth. Chu Feiling stood by his wife's side and held her frail body in his arms. His deep eyes gazed at the brilliant yet unreachable golden light in the sky. He gazed deeply at it. "Son, you have to walk on your own. You must walk well. Walk steadily." Law Enforcement City. Chu Yang stood in front of the first golden bridge. The wind blew and his clothes fluttered, as if he wanted to fly with the wind. He seemed to feel something. When he stepped on the golden bridge, he suddenly turned his head slowly and gazed deeply towards the southeast. There was longing, admiration, and deep affection in his eyes. "My parents are in that place. My home. Although I didn't grow up in my parents' home, although I didn't receive the care of my parents like other children, and I didn't get to sit beside them in the morning and at night, but I can be absolutely sure that my parents' love for me is no less than any other parent's love for their children in the world. Even more than that. Which parent doesn't hope for their children to have a bright future? I will bring supreme glory to my parents for the Chu clan." Chu Yang stepped onto the golden bridge and walked up step by step. Then, he slowly said in a deep voice, "I am the son of my parents. So, I should bring my parents supreme pride. Pride that no one in the world can match. This is my responsibility as a human. Together with everyone in the world, I encourage you," Chu Yang said in a deep voice. He climbed up the golden bridge step by step. His body was straight and upright. A human's responsibility. "We have it too," Jiu Du Xing and the others shouted in unison. Suddenly, they felt their hearts were filled with a sour warmth. It was a kind of thick familial love that could almost melt their hearts. We also want to make our parents proud. Let's go." Mo Qingwu and the other 13 people stepped on the golden bridge in front of them at the same time. Chapter 17-18. Mo Qingwu looked up, her eyes filled with endless longing. Chu Yang looked back with deep affection. Dong Wushong and Mo Leiya looked at each other lovingly. Mo Tianji looked at Chu Le-er's golden bridge without any concealment. "I'll look for you. I'll definitely look for you. Wait for me." Chu Le-er seemed to sense something. She turned her head slightly and met Mo Tianji's gaze. Suddenly, her face turned red and she quickly looked away. "Take care, everyone. We'll meet again." After stepping on more than 10 steps of the golden bridge, the 14 of them turned back at the same time and cupped their fists. "We'll bid farewell here." Moon Breeze and the rest bowed solemnly. "Take care, everyone." In the distance, a figure rushed over. "Chu Yang, Tianji, take care." It was Diwu Qingru flying over. Beside him, Ling Hanshue's clothes were as white as snow, following closely behind. Chu Yang looked over and suddenly smiled. He cupped his fists and said, "Brother Diwu, Miss Ling, congratulations. The next time you come back, we'll drink till we're drunk to make up for your wedding." Ling Hanshue's face suddenly turned red. Diwu Qingrou's face also turned red, but he cupped his fists graciously. "Brother Chu, thank you." Diwu Qingrou and Ling Hanshue probably had some feelings for each other now, but neither of them was willing to confess first. They were stuck between success and failure. Both of them had their own concerns. Diwu Qingrou's personality was calm and reserved. He would never ask for a snub if he wasn't confident. But how could he be confident in such matters? As a woman, Ling Hanshue was even more embarrassed. If this continued, who knew how long it would take? It wasn't impossible for them to part ways in the future. However, Chu Yang's sudden words had pierced through all the window paper for the two of them, and had given a conclusion to this matter. From then on, everything was clear. This sentence. It was said by the Calamity Sword Master, Chu Yang, at the last moment of the void-shattering realm. It was also to cheer for Diwu Qingrou in front of all the heroes in the world. It also forced Ling Hanshue into a corner. Since that was the case, they could only move forward. A happy marriage was just around the corner. How many happy couples in the world were introduced by others? They got engaged just because they had some feelings for each other, but they stayed together for the rest of their lives and grew old together. There wasn't the soul-stirring feeling of free love, but there was the calmness of life. Wasn't this another kind of happiness? Chu Yang laughed out loud. Then, he turned around and walked away in an elegant and confident manner. Everyone who was watching from below had a strange feeling. As Chu Yang stepped onto the golden bridge, every step he took forward, they felt as if they had been struck by lightning. His temperament seemed to have become even more free and easy, even more dashing, and even more arrogant. It was as if the moment he stepped onto the golden bridge, he began to transform. Every step of the metamorphosis was an earth-shattering change. 14 people climbed towards the top of the golden bridge at the same time. Everyone was focused. Eyes only. His eyes were fixed, and he did not care about anything else. Brother S, but this parting will be for a long time. Once again, when I see my brother again. At the heavens, when I was at the heavenly US, there's A's. Everyone didn't notice, or rather, forgot one thing, Wind Fox. This spirit beast had eaten so many heavenly treasures and spirit beast cores, but it had been in a deep slumber. Mo Qingwu had always kept it in her pocket. At this moment, it was like a dead object. Mo Qingwu herself was filled with sorrow at this moment. With tears in her eyes, how could she remember that she still had this little thing in her pocket? She just walked onto the golden bridge. The guide frowned. He really didn't understand why this little girl was carrying the corpse of a pet in her pocket. But that big shot Chu Yang had already said that this little girl was his wife. How could he offend her? Since that was the case, forget it. It's just the corpse of a pet. What's the use? If this little girl likes it, then let her take it. But this dead object would be incinerated immediately after going up. The little girl would be happy for nothing. Why should he be a villain? Therefore, he didn't even mention it. He just turned a blind eye and let it go. What he didn't know was that this small oversight would have a far more far-reaching impact. This little thing, which was just a corpse in his eyes and didn't belong to the Heavenly Demon Clan, actually caused a huge change in the Heavenly Imperial Court's Demon Clan after a long time, but this was a story for another time. Chu Yang walked up step by step. His mind was drifting. He thought of the struggles he had in the Heavenly Imperial Court 4 years ago. Scenes flashed through his mind. It was as if all the things, all the experiences, all the battles, were flowing through his mind at this moment. It was as if he had experienced it all again. Suddenly, a surge of pride rose from his chest. At this moment, he almost looked up to the sky and howled. Step by step, he felt that he was getting higher and higher. Gradually, he was about to touch the clouds in the sky. He didn't look back, but he knew and could feel that countless people's gazes were on him. Then, he took relaxed steps and climbed up step by step. Chu Yang chuckled and sang. His black robe fluttered in the wind. Drifting in the martial world, a few steps, hard in dream, sweet in drink, gale in all directions, sad in heart, ambushing in all directions, cold in heart, who can draw his sword beyond the green heavens? I want to sharpen my sword, white cloud sky. The heavenly imperial court gazes from afar, I say that my life is not in vain. Chu Yang's voice was so sonorous and powerful. It was full of magnetism, but it was mixed with endless elegance. It reverberated in the whole world for a long time. Ha ha ha. Good. The brothers on the Golden Bridge laughed in unison. Boss said it well. Who can draw his sword beyond the green heavens? I want to sharpen my sword, white cloud sky. The heavenly imperial court gazes from afar, I say that my life is not in vain. Good. Good. Thunder rumbled in the sky. The whole sky was suddenly filled with golden light. Countless lightning bolts fell at the same time. The people below only felt that their eyes were suddenly dazzled at this moment. When they hurriedly fixed their eyes on the sky, they saw that the many golden bridges in the sky had disappeared without a trace. In the distant sky, balls of brilliant golden light flickered and turned into streaks of brilliant shooting stars. Chu Yang and the others. They had already disappeared without a trace. Only the lingering charm of the laughter just now still reverberated in the world for a long time. The heavenly imperial court gazes from afar, I say that my life is not in vain. The people slowly murmured and refused to leave for a long time. Everyone knew that on this continent, from today onwards, another myth was born. An eternal legend. The legend that belonged to the current generation's tribulation sword master. The legend of 14 people collapsing the sky and breaking the void at the same time. Such a legend was not only unprecedented. It was also unprecedented. Beside a hidden mountain rock in the law enforcement city, a figure stood proudly with his hands behind his back. He looked at the golden light in the sky slowly disappearing, with a slight smile on his face. Brother, have a safe journey. This person. He was dressed in a green robe, with a tall and straight figure. His face was handsome, as if he was out of this world. It was Duke Yu. He came in the end. But he was carefree by nature. He was really not used to facing the sorrow of parting, so he only sent him off secretly. Beside him, there was a young girl in green. It was Jun Lulu. Both of them were reluctant to part. They were a little sad. Shaking his head and smiling slightly, Duke Yu slowly floated up and hugged Jun Lulu. He didn't even look back as he floated down the mountain. He murmured, once those guys go up, this heaven imperial court is destined to be restless. Maybe it will turn the world upside down. Those guys are capable of anything, it's just that. I'm already tired of this kind of Jianghu life. I only hope to spend the rest of my life peacefully with the person I love. I can't fight with you guys. Brother. I'm sorry. I only hope that when you guys come back, come and have a drink with me. Chu Yang was chatting with the leader of the group. At this juncture, he naturally wanted to use all the resources available to him. Although the leader of the group was only a low-ranking official, he was still a local tyrant. If he could get more information about the heaven quests from him, then his journey would be smoother. At least, it would be safer for him. After asking a few questions, he suddenly felt that his body was inexplicably heavy. Then, he fell from the sky. The golden bridge under his feet suddenly disappeared, and his body suddenly became weightless. He lost control in an instant, and fell down in a sorry state. Originally, with Chu Yang's cultivation level, even if the unforeseen event in front of him was too sudden, and he couldn't immediately use his cultivation level to control his qi, he could at least stabilize his body and not be in such a sorry state. However, he didn't expect that in addition to the disappearance of the golden bridge, the ground under his feet also produced an abnormally strong suction force, and sucked his entire body down like a meteorite. And the sky also seemed to be filled with a strong pressure, pressing him down. At the same time, the pressure from heaven and earth complemented each other. Coupled with the sudden change in situation, Chu Yang actually couldn't react in time. He was in an extremely sorry state. What's this situation? What's going on? Chu Yang said angrily. The reason is very simple. You've already arrived. The leading guide's voice sounded. Take care. I hope to see you again in the future. Hey! Chu Yang shouted, as guides, you should at least introduce me to the local customs and people here, right? I'm sorry, I can't tell you more. This is the rule. From now on, you have to explore everything by yourself. We're also very sorry about this. We're really sorry. As soon as the guide's voice fell, a golden cloud in the sky suddenly rose and disappeared with a whoosh sound. In the distance, those guides wiped their sweat at the same time. Return. They finally completed this damn mission. Their lives were saved. Chu Yang felt that his body was falling, but he didn't have any ability to control it. He couldn't help but feel helpless. I still don't know where I'll land in the end. I don't have any martial arts to protect me. I can't even use my martial arts to protect my body. How can I survive such a free fall? There seemed to be a patch of green coming towards him quickly. Chu Yang was thinking, why is it so green? Why is it so green? What is it that's so green? The next moment, his body had already fallen into that pile of green. Chapter 17-19. He fell to the top of a towering tree. Then, he let out a blood-curdling scream. His back bumped into a thick and solid tree branch and broke it. Then, he bumped into a second tree branch. Then, he continued to bump down. He didn't know how many tree branches he had bumped into. Crack, 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 boom. What the fuck? Chu Yang fell to the ground with his face facing the sky. The only feeling he had now was that all the bones in his body were broken. He couldn't help but curse. You fucking told me in advance if you wanted me to come down, right? What's with such a sudden attack? I'll remember you. Wait till you're old. Ouch. It hurts. However, he couldn't be blamed for this. If it were someone else, of course we wouldn't let him go down like this. We would at least remind him to be careful, but you're different. You fucking acted so awesome all the way here. You have a backer, someone above you, and super strong abilities. Even an idiot can tell that you're very familiar with this heavenly imperial court. Since you're familiar with it, how can you not understand the environment of this heavenly imperial court? Besides, you don't allow us to interfere too much. Didn't we do everything according to your wishes? You're already so familiar with it, but you still teased us all the way here. Do you really think we're idiots? After you go down, you can be a bird flying in the sky and a fish swimming in the sea. I'm not going to serve you anymore, idiot. Therefore, the price Chu Yang had to pay for acting tough this time was that he almost fell to his death. This was really a self-inflicted disaster. There was no other way. If he didn't act tough, he wouldn't have been able to get such good treatment. However, he couldn't pretend to be a pretentious prick and be seen through by others, so Chu Yang fell and stopped breathing. He lay on the ground for a long time. He was so close. If it wasn't for that tree below, if he really fell to the ground, he would definitely be finished. This wasn't an exaggeration. Chu Yang's physical body was undoubtedly more than 100 times stronger than an ordinary person's. But he didn't use his own cultivation, didn't use any martial arts, and didn't even have time to use any protective techniques for falling from a high altitude. Falling from such a high altitude, he still had to be supported by external forces. There was absolutely no way he wouldn't die. At this moment, Chu Yang's heart was filled with fear. In that moment, he couldn't control his body, and the subtle feeling of life and death was really didn't want to think about it. At the same time, Chu Yang made a painful decision. This was the heavenly layer. It was a completely new domain that he knew nothing about. He was no longer the Calamity Sword Master of the heavenly layer. He was afraid that there were too many things that he could not control. In the future, I must be more careful. I must not let something like this happen again. After lying on the ground for half a day, Chu Yang tried to adjust his breath and breathe in the air of the celestial imperial court. He carefully sensed everything in his new environment. In just a short moment, he felt relaxed and happy. The anger that had accumulated in his heart had disappeared. The spiritual energy in this realm was very dense. In such an environment, it was so dense that it could overwhelm the air. Even though it was a little difficult for him to breathe and he needed some time to get used to it, he was still shocked when he felt a large amount of spiritual energy entering his body. The density of spiritual energy in this realm was at least 10 times denser than in the Chongqian continent. This comparison was even the most conservative judgment. Because this seemed to be just the kind of lawless area in the Celestial Imperial Court. It was impossible for it to be a good place for martial artists to cultivate. However, the density of spiritual energy had reached such a level. No wonder the martial artists who ascended the Celestial Imperial Court were so tall. This seemed to be a forest. Chu Yang rolled his eyes and looked at the surrounding environment. There were towering trees around him, but under him, there was soft grass. A cute little white rabbit timidly peeked out its small head from behind a tree. It looked at Chu Yang with infinite curiosity. In this little rabbit's head, it couldn't understand no matter how hard it tried. How could a living person suddenly fall from the sky? After a long while, Chu Yang finally breathed a sigh of relief and slowly tried to get up. Hey! Chu Yang realized that the situation seemed to be a little wrong. Why did it feel like there was a lot of stickiness on his body? It also felt like the earth was automatically sucking him in, not allowing him to get up or move. Even the air was suppressing him. What was this situation? Why was it so strange? Chu Yang used a certain amount of his cultivation strength to sit up from the ground. Then, he stood up and tried to take 2 steps. It was still full of pressure as before. Chu Yang frowned and carefully felt the surrounding environment. After a long while, he murmured, I see. The ground gravity in the Celestial Imperial Court is actually 10 times more than in the Chongqian continent. There's actually such a place. There are really all kinds of strange things in the big wide world. At this time, the sword spirit in the tribulation space also floated out. He greedily breathed in the air of the Celestial Imperial Court. His eyes were a little moist as he murmured, It's been 100,000 years. I've finally returned to the Celestial Imperial Court. I've returned to my hometown. For a moment, he actually felt a little emotional. After calming himself down, he said to Chu Yang, You're right. The gravity in the Celestial Imperial Court is indeed much higher than in the Chongqian continent. However, it's not just 10 times, but 30 times. In other words, a person who weighs 50 kilograms in the Chongqian continent will weigh 3,000 kilograms in the Celestial Imperial Court. If an ordinary person came here, he would be crushed to death by his own weight without doing anything. Shocking, right? 30 times. Chu Yang clicked his tongue. Then how do the people here live? Are there no ordinary people here? The sword spirit said lightly, Of course, there are ordinary people here. However, even the weakest person who was born here will gradually get used to it due to the environment. Over time, their bodies will naturally become stronger than those in the Chongqian continent. As for the martial artists here, as long as they have a certain amount of wealth, they can go to the local shops and buy a light spirit jade. After wearing it, they can circulate their blood and qi, which can greatly reduce the effect of the gravity. In other words, with a light spirit jade, they can achieve the effect of being as light as a swallow. Chu Yang made a sound of agreement and said with interest, Light spirit jade? Good stuff. How much is one? The sword spirit smiled bitterly. Silver is not circulated in the Celestial Imperial Court. It's not even considered a precious metal. The currencies that circulate here are mainly Shueyun coin, Purple Soul coin, Ziyun coin, and Zixia coin. The first 3 currencies are all in increments of 100. 1 Purple Soul coin is equal to 100 Shueyun coins, 1 Ziyun coin is equal to 100 Purple Soul coins. As for Zixia coin, it's a high-grade currency. It's very rare to see it in ordinary transactions. It's only occasionally seen in large-scale transactions. 1 Zixia coin is equal to 10,000 Ziyun coins. Chu Yang sucked in a breath and said, In other words, 1 Zixia coin is equal to 100 million Shueyun coins. There's such a huge difference in the ratio. That's right. It's because of its shocking value that it's not commonly seen. Chu Yang couldn't help but grit his teeth. Then, what about purple crystals? Are they valuable? He thought of the large amount of purple crystals stored in his tribulation space. The sword spirit twitched the corner of his mouth and said, "Purple crystals are energy crystals. Ordinary people wouldn't use them for transactions. Under normal circumstances, they would only choose to absorb their energy to increase their cultivation. Then can purple crystals be used for transactions? It's not impossible." Chu Yang asked excitedly, "Purple crystals are good stuff. How many Zixia coins can one piece be sold for?" The sword spirit rolled his eyes violently and said, "How many Zixia coins can it be sold for? What are you thinking? 100 purple crystals can be sold for about 10 Zixia coins. 100 purple crystals can be sold for 10 Zixia coins?" Chu Yang's eyes widened. "You mean to say that 10 million purple crystals is only worth 1 Zixia coin? You're so smart. You're absolutely right." The sword spirit couldn't help but laugh. Chu Yang sat down on the ground and said angrily, "Why are purple crystals so worthless here? Then what's the point of having a warehouse like this? You don't have to be so discouraged. I'm just talking about theoretical data. In reality, not many people are willing to trade purple crystals like this. Purple crystals have a deeper meaning here, and that is strength. Because everyone basically uses them for cultivation, who would sell them? Although Zixia coins are valuable, they can't be used for cultivation." The sword spirit laughed and said, "If someone uses a large amount of purple crystals to trade for Zixia coins, he'll definitely be called the #1 prodigal." Chu Yang grinned. "Since Zixia coins can't be used for cultivation, then the other 3 types of coins can't be used for cultivation either, right? Yes, to put it bluntly, these 4 types of coins are the official currencies that are given to the market for circulation. They only represent the amount of wealth one has. Although they're exquisitely made, they don't actually have any other functions." The sword spirit said, "In reality, in the Heaven Imperial Court, whether it's purple crystals, heavenly treasures, or anything with energy, they won't be used as currency." "I see." Chu Yang heaved a sigh of relief. Then, his face turned bitter again. "Your words have allowed this sword master to regain some sense of superiority. However, there is another layer of meaning behind your words. Does this mean that this sword master is a pauper in the standard sense? I have nothing. I might be even poorer than a beggar. These are 2 different concepts. If you want to be rich, it's really too easy. You can casually take a few of the good things in the tribulation space and sell them for a huge amount of wealth. Although the trading value of purple crystals is limited, just 1 soul of the purple crystal can be exchanged for an astronomical amount of wealth. As for rare medicines, heavenly treasures, spring of life, and so on, they're still things that can only be encountered by chance in this world. To say that they're priceless is an exaggeration." The sword spirit said. "These definitely can't be sold." Chu Yang said angrily, "Those things are our foundation. No matter what, they can't be sold. Then there's no other way. So at this stage, Lord Sword Master, you're really poorer than a beggar. Beggars have a few water cloud coins, but you really don't have any." The sword spirit spread out his hands. Chu Yang frowned and tried to think of a solution. He never imagined that he, a super-rich person in the Heaven Imperial Court, would actually have to worry about money on his first day in the Heaven Imperial Court. Chapter 1720. Why don't we make a few more starwood rings and sell them? They should be worth a lot of money, right? Chu Yang asked. It's not just worth a lot of money. Its transaction price is likely to be higher than those heavenly treasures. Because storage equipment is also very rare in the Heaven Imperial Court. If you sell it, you can definitely get a lot of money. Of course, the premise is that you can hold on until the transaction is completed. Because I doubt that you can live for more than a day if you are exposed. Killing and looting are not exclusive to the Heaven Imperial Court. It's also popular here, Sword Spirit said sympathetically. I can't do this and I can't do that. What do you think I should do? Chu Yang was angry. Ever since he came to this damned Heaven Imperial Court, nothing went his way. He was too depressed. You can consider trading items with relatively low value. For example, Spirit Beast Cores. You can sell them for money, but you won't attract the attention of strong people. Sword Spirit said, but you don't have many spirit beast cores in your space now. The yin-yang poison dragon's eye and the lust dragon's inner core are very useful. You gave the rest to Mo Ching Wu and Tan Tan. Well, your sister took the most important poison pill. You can just say that I'm a pauper with no future. Chu Yang was very depressed. I can accept it. At most, I can start from the beginning. Well, you're a pauper now. You're even more pauper than a beggar, Sword Spirit said. You're so honest. Chu Yang sighed. Sword Spirit, can you roughly see where we are now? Let's confirm the location first. Oh right, is there anything to eat around here? Why do I feel a little hungry? Chu Yang was startled when he said this. He had been in the state of inedia for a long time. It hadn't been long since he left the Heaven Imperial Court. No matter what, he shouldn't feel hungry, right? But now, is it an illusion? No, it's obviously the feeling of hunger. Big brother, you have to know that the gravity here is 30 times that of the Heaven Imperial Court, so your consumption is naturally 30 times or more. You have to get used to the gravity here first. Sword Spirit saw his doubts and said, and you have to remember all the achievements you've made in the Heaven Imperial Court. Here, they're all 0. The so-called Sword Master of the Calamity Sword is nothing here. Okay, then let's start from scratch. Chu Yang gritted his teeth. He was a little worried. I wonder how the other brothers are doing. Each and every one of them was as poor as him. If he was already in such a state, he didn't know how miserable they would be. However, Mo Tianji wasn't worried about Rui Biu Tong. That guy was very good at stealing. He could become a rich man in a matter of minutes. Mo Tianji wasn't worried about that guy either. That guy knew how to cheat. He could become a rich man after cheating a few people. As for Dong Wu Shong and the others, he wasn't worried either. There was also Mo Lei There was even less to worry about. This woman would directly rob and kill. After all, she was the Black Demon. But, what about my little sister and Ching Wu? Do they feel helpless right now? Minister Chu was deeply worried about this. Don't worry, my lord. This should be the East Pole, which is the heavenly domain that my lord is in charge of. Because Jun Shong is the Eastern Emperor. Hence, it was also known as the Eastern Royal Sky. This forest is the Forest of Guidance. According to convention, there must be a town near the Forest of Guidance. Sword Spirit said, the Forest of Guidance can only be exited but not entered. It's a forbidden area in the Heaven Imperial Court. Its main purpose is to protect people who have just broken through. But, as long as you leave the Forest of Guidance, there will be trouble. Chu Yang frowned. Trouble? Yes. The Sword Spirit said, I remember that in the past, there would be people waiting outside to rob the people who had just ascended. However, these people were generally not of the upper echelons. Generally, those who had some strength and status would not do such a thing. Because these people's strength was relatively low, they could only bully some low-level martial artists who had just ascended. However, in a general sense, to the martial artists who had just ascended, they were experts who were hard to resist. In fact, it's impossible for people to break through the void in the Forest of Guidance every day. Often, there wouldn't be one in a year or so. So, the real experts wouldn't do such a laborious and rare thing. I understand. Also, these people are definitely not a threat to you. If measured by the Heaven Imperial Court, they are at most 3rd or 4th grade supreme martial artists, Sword Spirit said. Chu Yang laughed. I understand. I heard that 1st grade supreme martial artists can come up from other planes. That's why they can be so ferocious. Yes. That's great. Chu Yang said with relief, sure enough, there's always a way out. These people are obviously here to give us money. There are still good people in this world. Chu Yang was finally energized. He stood up and walked a few steps, gradually getting used to his body's ability to move under such heavy pressure. Sword Spirit swayed and floated out. After a while, he came back with 2 big birds of strange colors. This bird is called flying chicken. Its meat is tender and delicious. I used to like to eat it the most. But now that I'm a soul, I don't need to eat. Swordmaster, you can roast it. I'll just smell it and satisfy my craving. Sword Spirit looked very conflicted. He was obviously drooling. There seemed to be some lingering aftertaste, but more than that, there was helplessness. Soul bodies couldn't eat. Even the most delicious food in the world was useless in front of him. Fireworks rose. After a while, a strong smell of roasted meat rose in spirals. Sword Spirit raised his head greedily and sniffed. But his eyes were slightly closed. There was some nostalgia on his face. There was some nostalgia. Was he reminiscing about the glorious days hundreds of thousands of years ago? Chu Yang ate heartily and had a good meal. He ate the 2 flying chickens that were at least 7 to 8 kilograms into a pile of bones. He even took out a pot of wine from the tribulation space and poured himself a drink. He ate in such a carefree manner. Sword Spirit could only roll his eyes at this. After a long time, Chu Yang burped. Then, he staggered out. Let's go out. Heaven Imperial Court, old age is coming. Then, he was suddenly shocked. I fell with such a great force, but I didn't make a hole in the ground. Even if the branches reduced the force, I still fell to the ground in the end. I fell so hard that I didn't get up for a long time. Why is there no trace at all? Sword Spirit said quietly, this is Heaven Imperial Court. Why didn't you fall to your death, idiot? Motherfucker. Chu Yang cursed as he walked out. The two of them found a direction that was due north in this forest of guidance. After walking for 3 days, they finally saw the edge of the forest. There was a layer of transparent fog around the forest of guidance. It formed a barrier like a light belt, tightly surrounding the surroundings. That's where the restriction is. This thing can only be exited, but not entered. At least, it's an absolute barrier for those who are not strong enough. Sword Spirit said, Sir, only after exiting this restriction can we be considered to have truly entered Heaven Imperial Court. Chu Yang nodded and said, since that's the case, what are we waiting for? As he spoke, he walked forward. He walked out of the restriction easily. As expected, he didn't feel any resistance. Chu Yang's curiosity was piqued. He tried to walk back. He wanted to see if it was really only exiting and not entering. Boom! Thunder and lightning struck. Chu Yang let out a blood-curdling scream as he was struck and sent flying. His hair stood on end, and his small white face turned black. We really can't enter. Chu Yang grimaced. Sword Spirit was speechless. How many times did I tell you not to enter? You actually went to try it. You really deserved to be struck by this lightning. Even after walking far away from the restriction, Chu Yang still didn't see any good robbers. He couldn't help but feel a little depressed. He said, where are those good people who give money? Where are they? Don't tell me they're all gone when it's my turn. Or did the rules of Heaven Imperial Court change? They can't be playing with me like this, right? It's so hard to find a shortcut that doesn't require me to become a beggar. Sword Spirit rolled his eyes. He really didn't want to bother with someone anymore. If it were a first-grade supreme martial artist from another plane who had ascended and suddenly came to such a strange place, he would probably be on tenterhooks right now, fearing that there would be such people. But this one, knowing that there might be robbers, was very excited, but now that there was no robbers, he was actually very disappointed. What a weirdo. I keep feeling that there's something strange about this place. Chu Yang looked around. They were already at the edge of the forest. Weeds were everywhere, and there were also traces of people walking through some places. Obviously, many people had entered and left this place. There seems to be traces of a battle over there. Chu Yang pointed to the bushes at the side and said, according to my experience, there must be something fishy about this place. There's something fishy about this place. Sword Spirit observed carefully. Before he could speak, an unusually weak voice suddenly came from the bushes that were taller than a person. Meow. Who are you? How did you know I was here? Both Chu Yang and Sword Spirit were stunned at the same time. Sword Spirit returned to the tribulation space in a flash. Chu Yang looked over there and saw a rustling sound from the bushes. A person crawled out. This person looked rather strange. So strange that it was a little inappropriate to use the word human to describe him. He had a pair of pointed ears on his head. He was chubby and as thick as the top and bottom of his head. The side of his mouth was actually horizontally long, just like a cat. Moreover, there was a furry tail behind his buttocks. This almost didn't look like a cat, but directly like a cat, in the form of a human. Chapter 17:21. Chu Yang was stunned. Who are you? How do I know you? This sentence made the cat person in front of him dumbfounded. You don't know me? Chu Yang was stunned. Should I know you? The cat person went crazy. But you know my name. You even called my name just now. Why do you say you don't know me now? Are you deliberately playing with me? Meow. Chu Yang scratched his head in confusion. Did I call your name just now? When? Did I? I don't think so. The cat person frowned and the word king appeared on his forehead like a tiger. He was a little angry. Meow. What do you mean? You didn't call my name. Do you think I'll come out to die when I'm injured like this? Do you think you can play with me just because I'm injured? Meow. Chu Yang held his forehead with one hand and sighed helplessly. His life might have been too smooth and too nature-defying previously, resulting in bad luck after coming to the Heaven Imperial Court this time. First, he fell and almost died, then he was told that he was poor. Now, he even met a crazy person. And this crazy person looked like a cat. They didn't know each other, but this guy actually insisted that he knew him. I've just broken through the void and come up, okay? Not to mention knowing you. I don't know anyone in this Heaven Imperial Court. Shui Lei Han. That guy doesn't seem to be a person anymore. Brother, I think you're really mistaken. I really don't know you. I've never called your name. You and I don't know each other. How can I know your name? After Chu Yang finished speaking, he got ready to leave. You clearly called me Shifty just now. I definitely didn't hear wrongly. Meow. The cat person cried out indignantly and angrily. I'm Shifty. Meow. You're unreasonable. Chu Yang's mouth opened wide and his eyes widened. He was completely stunned. You said you're Shifty. Shifty. Chu Yang felt that he was stuttering. Is your surname Cat? Shifty. Nonsense. Everyone in the cat clan has the surname Cat. The cat person said matter-of-factly. What's so strange about my name? This time, it was Chu Yang's turn to be stunned. How could he not be stunned? Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Just now, he was just observing the terrain out of habit. When he saw something unusual, he casually said, "There's something fishy about this place." How normal was that sentence? Who would have thought that as soon as he finished speaking? Something fishy was actually called out by me. In his lifetime, yes, it should be 2 lifetimes. He had experienced a lot of trickery, but this was the first time he saw trickery as a human. He deliberately coughed twice to adjust his emotions and said, "Although I have never seen you before, your name is indeed well known." His expression changed from anger to joy, and he said proudly, "Of course, my name is the best name in our cat clan. There are many people who know me, but not all of them have seen me. I understand. You don't have to be so regretful. Didn't you see my real face today? Seeing you in person is even better than hearing about you, right? My ass. I'm convinced." Chu Yang, who didn't want to speak against his conscience, could only say so. As he spoke, his face, which was originally full of pride, turned into a painful expression. He said sadly, "Sigh, if I knew you didn't know me at all, I wouldn't have come out. I thought the reinforcements had finally arrived. This is bad. My injuries have worsened. This time, I'm really done for. Being done for is not scary. But how can I be done for in front of people who admire me? My image, it's all gone now." Chu Yang chuckled. Then, a thought flashed through his mind. This fishy guy looks really straightforward. He also seems a little naive and muddle-headed. Or, he doesn't know much about the world. Such a person shouldn't be a bad person. Besides, as a newcomer, he should really make friends with someone. To familiarize himself with this world, the old native sword spirit had been away from home for more than 100,000 years. And this guy in front of him was in need of timely help. Brother Cat. Chu Yang deliberated. Brother Cat. That's not appropriate. You make me feel like a cat. Yes. You can call me Teacher Cat. Those who are really familiar with me will call me that. The cat person was in pain. But when he heard Chu Yang call him that, he said proudly, Teacher Cat. Chu Yang's eyes widened. Where did this come from? Yes. The cat person raised his nose to the sky. I'm a very powerful person. I'm the teacher of many people in the cat clan. Chu Yang was speechless for a moment. He thought, will the students taught by this guy become as stupid as him? However, the cat clan actually let such a person be a teacher. It was indeed a very bold clan. So you're a teacher. Sorry for the disrespect. Teacher Cat, it's nice to meet you. Chu Yang smiled. Fishy twisted his thick body proudly, like a panda squirming suddenly. He opened his mouth and said happily, it's fine, it's fine. I like it the most. I like people calling me Teacher Cat. As he spoke, he suddenly thought of something and gritted his teeth. I must go on a diet when I go back this time. This time I was ambushed. It's all my damn weight's fault. It really affects my unparalleled lightness skill. Chu Yang realized that he couldn't follow the cat person's train of thought at all. He was stunned for a moment and asked subconsciously, how heavy are you? The werewolf seemed a little embarrassed, but said, it's not very heavy. It's only 250 kilograms. Fart. Chu Yang coughed repeatedly. As if he felt that this number was damaging to his teacher's reputation, the cat person hurriedly changed the topic. He said, I know you admire me a lot, but you're not from the cat clan. It's really inconvenient for me to accept you as a disciple, so don't call me teacher. Well, I'm the second in the family. You can just call me Cat Second Master. I'll give you pointers as appropriate and won't let you go back empty-handed. Chu Yang smashed his fist on his own head and groaned in pain. Cat Second Master. Not to mention how stupid this name was, but it seemed that all the people he met along the way were all second masters. Now that he finally rushed to the Heavenly Imperial Court, the first person he met was actually a cat second master. He didn't know if there were rabbit second master or dog second master. Cat second master let out a painful meow and said, these damn bastards hit me too hard. I can't take it anymore. I really want to sleep. Why am I so sleepy? Don't sleep first. This time, Chu Yang had already seen that although this cat person didn't have many external injuries, his internal injuries were very serious. It was so serious that he could die at any time. It was amazing that he could talk to Chu Yang like this for half a day. What a talent, Teacher Cat, you're in luck this time. Chu Yang said mysteriously, I happen to be a doctor. My teacher is the peerless divine Dr. Du Shaqing. Greasy Cat's large yellow, black, and white eyes, which had gradually closed due to its severe injuries and could no longer open, suddenly widened. Its pupils turned into vertical lines like a cat seeing the noon sun. Meow. Why are you still talking nonsense? Since you're a doctor, why don't you hurry up and treat me? I don't care if your teacher is a peerless divine doctor or a divine doctor. Can't you see that Teacher Cat is in so much pain right now? After he finished speaking, he actually lay down with a shua sound. He stretched his chubby and short legs and pointed at his own body with his chubby and short fingers. There's a sword here, and there's a knife here. I was hit by 3 palms here, and a few of my ribs seem to be broken. I was heavily kicked here, and I reckon I have internal injuries. And here. His face twisted as he looked at Chu Yang and said pitifully, it hurts. He really didn't treat himself as an outsider. Chu Yang suddenly felt a little dizzy again. Originally, he wanted to explain a bit more about his background and bring up his teacher, Divine Dr. Du Shaqing, to gain the other person's trust. He did not expect that before he could even finish his draft, the other person would trust him and hand everything over to him. What kind of situation was this? Wasn't he a little too careless? This kind of person was a teacher of a clan. Seeing Chu Yang standing there in a daze, Teacher Cat, who was already lying on the ground, opened his eyes wide and urged, why are you standing there? Hurry up and do it. Do you want to see me die before you do it? Chu Yang smiled bitterly and said, I say, How can you believe me so easily? Aren't you afraid that I'm actually your enemy? Saying that I'm going to treat you, but killing you in the next moment. Greasy Cat immediately rolled and got up from the ground. He scratched his head and said, "Yes, you won't kill me while you're treating me, right? I don't have much ability to resist now. This time, I'm finished." Chu Yang fainted. This guy didn't think of this just now. He could even say what he was thinking. What kind of person was this? Could he be any more stupid? Before Chu Yang could speak again, Greasy Cat actually lay down on his back again and said, "Come on. Anyway, if you're my enemy, I won't be able to live much longer if you don't kill me. Heaven is jealous of geniuses. It's been like this since ancient times. But if heaven is merciful, if you're a good person and the successor of some divine doctor, I'll be saved. I'll treat you as a good person. I hope you're really the successor of the divine doctor. I believe heaven won't give up on a good person like me." Chu Yang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Heaven is jealous of geniuses. Heaven is merciful. You can say anything you want. Who knew if this person was really free and easy? Or was he really naive to a certain extent? Shaking his head, he squatted down to check his body. He couldn't help but get a shock. This teacher cat's injuries were really not light. If he hadn't met Chu Yang by chance, he would be finished in minutes. His internal organs were all dislocated. He didn't know how many bones in his body were broken. Or rather, he should count how many bones were intact. His head also suffered a severe concussion. The injuries were so serious that Chu Yang felt that even a peak-grade supreme martial artist would have died long ago. Chapter 1722. Even after suffering such serious injuries, this cat teacher was still alive and kicking. From the looks of it, he should be an expert. Not to mention other things, many of the fatal wounds on his body were wrapped up with a very special kind of yuan qi, which could prevent them from flaring up for a certain period of time. At the very least, the current Chu Yang wouldn't be able to do this. Are my injuries very serious? Can I still be treated? Aren't you the disciple of the divine doctor? Hurry up and save me. Seeing that Chu Yang did not say a word after checking his injuries, the cat teacher panicked and cried, "Is there no cure? Am I going to die? Woo woo meow. Don't worry, with me here, you can't die even if you want to. I am the disciple of the divine doctor. How can I fail my first case in the Heaven Valley?" Chu Yang said confidently and took out a purple jade bottle. Inside it was the incomplete version of the heavy pill. Whether Chu Yang's medical skills were worthy of the title of the divine doctor's disciple, this was not certain. However, this guy had something good in his hands that even the divine doctor might not have. Although the incomplete version of the heavy pill could not completely heal the cat teacher's injuries, it could save his life and even heal half of his body. It was really a piece of cake. What a beautiful bottle. The cat teacher, who was still feeling sorry for himself a moment ago, opened his eyes wide again. He looked at the purple jade bottle in Chu Yang's hands with interest and even a hint of envy. This guy, even at this time, he was still thinking about whether the bottle was beautiful or not. Chu Yang's face darkened. "Open your mouth!" Chu Yang shouted. The cat teacher's eyes stared at the purple jade bottle. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and then opened his mouth wide. His mouth opened like a hippopotamus. "Please, it's just eating a pill, that's all." But the way this guy was posing, he could directly swallow a pig. Chu Yang looked up at the sky and sighed. He could not bear to look at the cat teacher's yellow teeth. He quickly turned his head and looked into the distance. He took out the incomplete version of the heavy pill and threw it into the cat teacher's mouth. "What is this? It's so delicious. Do you have more?" Cat Sensei smacked his lips, savoring the aftertaste. He stuck out his tongue and licked his lips skillfully. With a slurping sound, he looked as if he hadn't had enough and wanted to ask for more. Chu Yang suddenly turned his head and said in surprise, "What the fuck? How can there be a three-headed tiger here? The East Imperial Realm is full of strange things. A three-headed tiger? Where? Where is it?" Teacher Cat asked curiously. He wanted to open his eyes when he turned around. "Catcher, catcher, catcher," A few crisp sounds rang out, clean and neat. Meow. Ouch. Ouch. It hurts so much. Greasy Cat cried out in pain. Chu Yang had taken advantage of the moment when the heavy pill had entered the cat teacher's body and was able to maintain his vitality. Chu Yang had moved like the wind and adjusted the broken bones in the cat teacher's body to their original position. Otherwise, he would have waited for the heavy pill to take effect. Teacher Cat's bones were completely deformed. A total of 13 areas were repaired. The cat teacher meowed in pain. His fat body trembled as he gritted his teeth and glared at Chu Yang angrily. You should have told me earlier." Before he could finish his sentence, in the next moment, his body suddenly emitted circles of yellow light. The yellow light spread out in circles, constantly diffusing outwards. Immediately, a black mist began to evaporate from Teacher Cat's body. Wah-meow. 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 Greasy Cat opened his mouth abruptly. After spitting out 3 mouthfuls of congested blood, he instantly felt his body relax a lot. Moreover, the mysterious and huge medicinal effect was moving quickly through his body. Especially his injured internal organs, they were restored to their original positions in an instant, and had even recovered a lot. Inside his body, the bones that had been restored but were still broken actually showed signs of healing after a short while. The pain all over his body was reduced by 70 to 80% in an instant. Meow. What the fuck? This is really miraculous. This is too exaggerated. There's actually such a thing. Greasy Cat clicked his tongue in wonder, his face full of disbelief. In the next moment, as he continued to circulate his energy, black gas continued to rise from his body, spreading out in circles. Greasy Cat's previously colorless face became rosy at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lying on the ground, a certain cat stretched his legs and moved his feet. Then, he rolled up and looked at himself from head to toe. Meow. What the fuck is miraculous? Meow, why is it so good? What's going on? I'm not dreaming, am I? Meow. With a long meow, the cat teacher jumped up and hugged Chu Yang. With a smack sound, he kissed Chu Yang's face intimately. His big mouth cracked open as he smiled happily. Brother, thank you so much. Chu Yang was completely unprepared for this sudden turn of events. He was stunned for a moment, then he retched and hurriedly wiped his face with his hands. Why are you so excited? That was my first kiss. I don't know how many feline girls want to get it. Seeing Chu Yang wipe his face, Teacher Cat was a little hurt. First kiss. It would have been better if he didn't hear this. Once he heard this, Chu Yang immediately vomited. He felt as if his heart was being trampled by 10,000 alpacas. If you were a girl, it would have been fine. Even if you were a feline girl, but you're a male, and you actually said that you gave your first kiss to me. Fuck me, I was kissed by a guy on my first day in Heavenly Layer, and it was my first kiss. Today's first kiss. Greasy Cat said proudly. Now that his injuries were mostly healed, Teacher Cat was even more excited to talk. He pulled Chu Yang aside and chatted endlessly. He was even closer than his best buddies. In addition, he expressed his gratitude to Chu Yang for his help. He rambled on for a long time. In fact, he had spoken hundreds of sentences in total. Only then did Chu Yang barely understand what had happened to him. Speaking of which, this was actually a very simple matter. Greasy Cat was from the Meow clan. He was actually the teacher of the Meow clan. It was said that he was known as the #1 Meow of the Meow clan. This title proved that he was the most knowledgeable person in the Meow clan. He rarely came into contact with worldly affairs. He only immersed himself in studying and occasionally practiced martial arts. He was a little pedantic and a little naive. However, knowledge was hard to come by. The reason this time was because he heard that there was a top academic genius in the Cow clan of the Western Paradise City who had actually comprehended the spatial algorithm that no one in the Heavenly Layer had ever comprehended. Greasy Cat was shocked when he heard the news. He felt unusually excited and exclaimed that he was not alone. Therefore, he immediately set off to visit. His purpose was naturally to seek advice from the Cow clan's algorithm genius. It could also be said that he wanted to have an exchange with him. After all, This kind of legendary and profound algorithm was extremely attractive to a university researcher like Mr. Cat. However, Greasy Cat left in a hurry. He only brought a total of 12 guards. While he was driving the Meow Clan's academic carriage, he was ambushed halfway by the Wolf Clan, the archenemy of the Meow Clan. Both the Meow Clan and the Wolf Clan were experts in concealment among the Demon Clan. They had always been unwilling to submit to each other. The two clans developed independently, and the friction between them grew day by day. Gradually, it turned into a feud. They had long wanted to get rid of this teacher of the Meow Clan. After all, with this cat teacher around, the youths of the Meow Clan were enlightened a little too quickly. To the Wolf Clan, this was a huge threat. Now, this cat teacher was blinded by the temptation of learning. He actually walked out of the Meow Valley without caring about anything else. Without the protection of those cat experts, this was a heaven-sent opportunity for the Wolf Clan. As the saying goes, remove the firewood from under the cauldron. After a fierce battle, the 12 or so guards of Teacher Cat fought with all their might. All of them died in battle. Teacher Cat, under the cover of the crowd, was inevitably seriously injured. There were always some Teacher Cat who had some secret tricks up his sleeve. He was lucky enough to temporarily escape from the enemy's encirclement. In a panic, he fled into the depths of the forest. He used a secret technique to hide his breath and waited for possible help, until Chu Yang found out. However, if Chu Yang had not appeared by accident and exposed the cat teacher's trick, the chances of Teacher Cat surviving this time were not much. After listening to Teacher Cat's encounter, Minister Chu realized that he was indeed getting more and more unlucky after coming to the Heaven Valley. Wasn't this the same as getting himself into big trouble out of nowhere? A war between the Meow Clan and the Wolf Clan. How could he unknowingly get involved in it? With his insignificant strength that had just ascended, would he be able to withstand it? If he really met someone from the Wolf Clan, it would be fine if he was slightly weaker. However, if he met someone stronger, wouldn't he be crushed to death? Looking at his series of encounters, it was almost certain that he would meet an expert from the Wolf Clan. When the time came, he would be the one crying for help. Teacher Cat had him to save him, but who would save him? Wait. There seemed to be something wrong. Meow Clan? Wolf Clan? This was not the territory of the East Pole? Was it not? This was actually the territory of the Demon Clan? Chu Yang frowned and said, I say, Brother Cat, do you know where this place is? Isn't this the East Pole? It's the East Pole. Teacher Cat looked at him in surprise. Are you out of your mind? Cough cough. I actually just broke through the void and came here. I'm not familiar with anything here at all. The guide told me that this place was called the East Pole, but you mentioned the Meow Clan and the Wolf Clan. I was confused. Chu Yang explained awkwardly. What's so strange about the Demon Clan in the East Pole? Hey, what did you say? Chapter 1723. Chu Yang was surprised. What's my cultivation level now? Is there a need to be so surprised? The cat teacher stared at him and said weakly, You don't know? My cultivation level in my original world is indeed very high, but I don't know anything about the East Pole, or even the entire Heaven Palace. I would like to ask Brother Cat to enlighten me. Greasy Cat stared blankly for a moment before he suddenly let out a loud meow and danced excitedly. Ha 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 ha, I've finally met someone who's dumber than me when it comes to things outside of the academic field. He doesn't even know what rank he is. Wahahaha meow meow. Looking at the cat teacher dancing and wagging his tail, Chu Yang's face was full of black lines. To think that I, the Great Tribulation Sword Master, a world-shaking legend, would be laughed at by such an idiot. This is so embarrassing. Wait, I just ascended. Is it strange that I don't know? Why is he laughing at me? Teacher Cat, please enlighten me. Please explain in detail the various levels in the Heaven Palace. Chu Yang smiled bitterly. Shifty Cat was obviously a teacher. He nodded and wagged his tail, stroking his sparse beard and said, If that's the case, I will enlighten you. Listen carefully, I will only say it once. Chu Yang grinned and listened seriously. In the Heaven Palace, Martial artists can be divided into 8 levels: Xian, spirit, human, earth, heaven, saint, celestial, and saint. A normal martial artist can become a martial artist after their meridians are connected, which is the lowest level of martial artists. The profound level, Teacher Cat explained solemnly, as if he was imparting knowledge to the students. Under normal circumstances, people who have just ascended from the lower realm are roughly between the profound level and spirit level. Therefore, although ascenders are not common in the heavenly layer, they are not rare. It is precisely because their strength is low that there is no rare value in them. The cat teacher continued to talk. There is a martial artist song in the Heaven Palace. Xianling, do not appear, do not talk about the heavens, don't talk about 1,000 miles, just look at what is in front of you. The meaning of this song is, before you break through the 3rd level of Xianling, it is best not to go out. Perhaps he would be slaughtered if he went out. The most important thing is to take care of yourself first. Don't go out, but it doesn't mean that you can only stay at home and not go anywhere. It is still necessary for you to gain experience. However, in most large clans or tribes, when young people of such cultivation go out to gain experience, there must be experts of the clan to protect them in the open and in the dark. This is more appropriate. In fact, our cat clan does this. Chu Yang nodded. I see. Lord Kang Kang is the great earth, the winds and clouds are turbulent, all below the saint level are ants. Teacher Cat continued, these words are referring to the earth level, heaven level, and saint level. 3 ranks. In other words, an earth-grade warrior could already be called a hero of a land and have a certain amount of power. Once he reached the heaven-grade warrior, he could even call the wind and clouds and move unhindered in the world. But in terms of actual strength, these two were definitely not at the top level. Because, the cultivation level below the saint-grade warrior was just an ant. In front of a saint-level expert, heaven and earth-level experts are only slightly stronger ants. Chu Yang nodded, indicating that he understood. This time, he really learned something. In the upper 3 heavens, that heavenly demon was so powerful and claimed to be a heaven-grade warrior. Who would have thought that in this heaven imperial court, he was just a slightly bigger ant? What about the higher heaven grade and saint grade? Chu Yang saw that after Teacher Cat finished talking, he actually stopped talking and couldn't help but ask. Do you still need to talk about those 2 levels? Teacher Cat rolled his eyes and said, a heaven-grade warrior is naturally an overlord of a region. Warriors who have reached that level are mostly the kind of legendary people who are rarely seen. As for the saint grade, humph, there are hundreds of millions of people in the heaven imperial court, but there are only 10 or so saint-grade warriors who know the name. That is the true pinnacle. Speaking of the saint grade, Teacher Cat's face showed a sincere expression of respect. Are there higher and stronger existences above the saint grade? Chu Yang asked curiously. Teacher Cat's face showed a horrified expression. Brother Chu, you are new here, so it is reasonable for you to ask this question. Let me give you a word of advice. You can say this to me, but don't ever say it again in the future. Once you say it, there is a high chance that people will say that you are looking down on a saint-grade warrior. That is a serious crime that can lead to the extermination of your family. Remember. Chu Yang opened his mouth and finally stopped talking. In the Heaven Imperial Court, other than the legendary Heaven-grade warriors and Saint-grade warriors, the other levels are divided into 3 levels. The difference is very obvious, and there is a great disparity between each level. Teacher Cat looked at Chu Yang from the corner of his eyes and said, I think you don't need to ask about the Heaven-grade warriors and Saint-grade warriors in such detail. Because no matter how detailed it is useless to you. Anyway, you can't reach that level. With your aptitude, your current achievements are already your limit. It is very difficult for you to have more room for improvement. Chu Yang was speechless. This cat is really looking down on me. What are you saying? Are you trying to dampen my enthusiasm for improvement? Chu Yang snorted and said, then my current position is, which level? Have I reached the Earth grade? Cut your meow. Teacher Cat said disdainfully, your current strength is not weak, but it is only at the mortal grade. You can be considered an average expert, but you are still an ant. Chu Yang sighed deeply. This cat teacher did not seem to know how to take care of other people's self-esteem. What kind of teacher was he? Teaching people tirelessly? Deceiving people? Then what about you, Teacher Cat? You must be a great expert, right? Have you reached the heaven grade? Chu Yang asked unhappily, deliberately provoking him with his words. Heh 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 heh. Crafty smiled smugly. Your guess isn't too far off. I'm already at the beginner stage of heaven rank. With my aptitude, I believe I'll be able to reach the legendary celestial rank very soon. It'll take at most a few thousand years. Humph. Chu Yang spat disdainfully and said, You are still an ant. How shameless. Heaven grade and heaven grade seem to differ by one word, but in reality, the difference between heaven and earth is far, far off. Pooh. Teacher Cat saw Chu Yang's disdain and was greatly angered. His fat body leaped up, and with a twist of his waist, he looked as comical as a polar bear doing ballet. He said, If you are not convinced, then let's fight. Chu Yang snorted and said, I just cured you, and now you are coming to deal with me. Teacher Cat, you really have moral integrity. Teacher Cat lowered his hands dejectedly and said, You are right. How could I do such an ungrateful thing? It is my fault. Chu Yang laughed loudly. Today had not been very smooth, and now he could finally vent his anger. Even though he had vented his anger, he could not help but be shocked. This Teacher Cat was obviously a lazy person who focused on studying. At most, he only practiced martial arts occasionally, and yet he was able to reach the heaven grade. In other words, his strength may not be below that of a heavenly demon at his peak, and is more than 10 times the Dharma Supreme's ultimate strength. This guy's aptitude is probably extremely high. Now that I am being hunted by the wolf clan, it will not be very peaceful if I leave this place. Teacher Cat said worriedly, Why don't we go our separate ways? With your current cultivation, although you are not an ant, as long as you don't actively cause trouble, you should have no problem protecting yourself. Following me is just suicide, Chu Yang said. Won't it be fine as long as you change your appearance a little? Of course it is easy to change my appearance, but what about my tail? Teacher Cat looked at his furry tail with some resentment and reached out to stroke it. He narrowed his eyes and said, So comfortable. Chu Yang was speechless. What kind of person was this? Caring more about his image than his life. He was just like those women who loved to look beautiful. After a long while, the two of them walked out of the dense forest together. As far as the eye could see, the cat teacher's furry tail had disappeared. His entire body had also changed. His original chubby and short stature had turned into a tall and sturdy man. His face had also changed from its original wheat color to a dark and swarthy black. There was no way to get a beard like that, because the cat teacher was unwilling to shave that beard no matter what. Therefore, Chu Yang could only adapt to the situation. He shaved off quite a bit of his hair and stuck it on the cat teacher's face. Even if he did not shave his beard, he could at least grow it, right? Under such fiddling, the cat teacher had already turned into a leopard head with round eyes and a full beard. He looked quite powerful. It was just that the cat teacher's habit of shaking his butt after taking 2 steps made Chu Yang feel quite helpless. There was no way to overcome this action. It had already become a habit of someone's, a habit that had integrated into his body and bloodline. As they walked and talked, Chu Yang had to admit that Shifty Cat was indeed worthy of being the cat teacher of the cat clan. He was very knowledgeable and multi-talented. Along the way, he had seen the local customs and people, including flowers, plants, trees, and everything else that he had seen and not seen. He had spoken without stopping. He had really opened the eyes of a country bumpkin like Chu Yang and widened his horizons. It was just that he was a little talkative. Chu Yang secretly muttered to himself, and this guy likes to lecture people. But it's not surprising that a teacher would have this habit. The two of them walked on the official road. The cat teacher volunteered to lead the way in front to the nearest city, Xixia City. Along the way, Chu Yang also widened his horizons. The spiritual energy in the heavenly imperial court was very dense. As they walked, they constantly saw some spiritual energy formed into fog, drifting past them. It made people unexpectedly feel like they were walking in the clouds. This feeling was quite refreshing. Moreover, his meridians and pores all over his body were constantly inhaling and exhaling spiritual energy. Chu Yang seemed to feel that his cultivation was slowly solidifying. This kind of situation, whether it was in the heavenly imperial court or in the space of tribulations, had never happened before. Suddenly, the grass in front of them rustled a few times. A few burly men suddenly appeared on the road and shouted, "Stop! Who are you?" You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.